Hey, what's up, everybody? Real Fish Talk number 22, also known as 22.
22.
My brain, I heard beans. Something.
22.
Today we're going to talk about our favorite fish, mostly because I just wanted to. You know, Joel's kind of like, that's what you want to do? And I'm like, yeah, today I'm just passionate about talking about fish. So.
Yeah. Talk about fish. Why not?
Yeah.
It's the Real Fish Talk. We can talk about fish at the Real Fish Talk, right?
Every once in a while. I don't want to make a habit out of it.
Whoa. Hey now.
We did go frolic in the snow all day yesterday.
We did. Yes.
So that was fun. Pictures pretty much up on Patreon, that type of thing, I guess. Not that there's like a ton of them, but
There's some on Patreon. There's
you took
some
a bunch
on
of video.
Instagrams.
Yeah.
Was it?
You
Is
took
there
a bunch of video.
Yeah. We both did. Both Jimmy and myself.
Yeah. I took a very short video. I haven't uploaded it or anything yet, but I'm sure at some point that'll come out. I don't want to promise anything because Joel pretty much has to live here until the studio's done.
Right.
And that's being facetious because he does go home.
I do go home.
Yeah. With this many people on the internet, people will be like, I heard he's living at Cory's.
I heard he sleeps in the attic like Frank Dominguez.
Yeah. So, I want to clarify that. But
Free plug. Hashtag
Yeah.
free plug.
So, a lot of people are asking, like, when's the new studio ready? Is it ready today? I think we're a couple weeks away still.
Yeah,
Like, I'm shooting mid-month.
Yeah, our what's our release date? Do we call it a release date?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right
I just
word.
been throwing around the number
Was the
January 15th.
The 15erd reserve.
But it, plus or minus, well, I won't say minus, probably maybe plus a week. Because I can't imagine we're going to be like, who knew? We're done in 4 days from now or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see that happening at all. So
everything just fell right into place.
So, that's... But a lot of cool stuff. I ordered a cool item yesterday for it. I don't want to spoil it, so I can't even say it aloud.
Don't
But
spoil
the
it.
rest of my family is laughing at me.
I don't even know.
Yeah. I just order stuff, and then I'm like, yeah, Joel, build around that.
Yeah.
Let's
Deal with
do
this
that.
obstruction.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but we made big headway. If you hadn't seen yet on the main channel, I did a little live stream that YouTube managed to screw up for me, as always. I don't know. I got this chronic problem with my channel that when I live stream, it's in 720, looks great,
Mm-hmm.
and then afterwards they're like, let's ratchet that down to 480p.
Let's drop it down to 480.
Yeah, and I will say, and I know people hate us talking about YouTube in the back end, but so I've been trying to diagnose this problem, and in theory, when you get 100,000 subscribers,
Mm-hmm.
you get the golden ticket where it's like, we'll let you talk to someone that might live in the U.S. now.
Oh.
Yeah, so I've been trying to do this. I've been there for a month, and I keep hitting dead ends,
Right.
no matter what. I get to someone, and they're like, "We're not that department."
Yeah.
No, you got to apply for this. I'm like, "Oh, okay, where?" And then they never reply again.
Right.
So I finally
And
got
now
to it
we're
this
dead.
morning, and it's some automated page that they linked to me. And the person linking it to me was like, well, make sure you meet all these requirements. And they listed off all the things that I listed off in my original email. Like, I already have 100,000 subs. I'm not just some guy with 10 subscribers that wants an account manager. I've met all these requirements. And the whole thing is, I just want someone on the other line, on the other end of the line, where I'm like, look, Jake, the live streams are broken. Can you actually look into it? Because everyone else just says we're gonna escalate this.
Right.
And then I escalated it so high one time, and they're probably just tired of me. They just said, oh, yeah, it's a known bug. And I'm like, really? Just a known bug? YouTube's living with that? No one else having the problem? Known bug, though. Very frustrating when you just want things to work. And at this point, I've invested thousands of dollars to cure the problem that still plagues me, that I can't even replicate all the time and things like
Right.
that. So I'm just disappointed. I almost want to, talk to them. I want to get someone high enough in the company where I'd be like, the user experience is terrible. I've been trying to get you have this program in place. I'm trying to get in contact with someone for a month, and I'm a reasonable person. I've been trying, and it's not working.
Yeah.
But I just know they'd be like, oh yeah, we'll file that and the other crap we don't care about, So, but anyway, I want to talk about fish because talk about fish I love and YouTube back end that I hate. Will offset that.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think the live stream bug thing has to do with your phone, because I even lost like even after it was processed, like YouTube deleted live stream stuff that I did from my phone. They were just like, nah, that can just go away now. And you're like, what happened?
It could be. So like I would normally go like, oh, maybe it is my phone, except I specifically bought another phone, bought Jimmy a phone, tried that phone, and my wife's phone, and it's uniformly unreliable.
I think it just has to do with like streaming from a phone.
Maybe, but
I think it's like
I did it for like
I think
a
it's
year.
like the algorithm knows that it
Yeah.
wants to discourage people from just walking around with their phone.
Could be.
Like, this isn't Snapchat.
Yeah,
you know?
that could be. That could
Yeah,
be.
I don't
but
know.
for like, because I would believe that more because for like a year, no problems at all, crispy, worked great,
Yeah.
awesome, and then it was like someone turned a switch. Like, this guy's getting views with those live streams. We need to put a stop into that.
Put a
Like,
kibosh to this cell phone
Yeah,
age.
so-
yeah.
But what fish do I want to talk about today? I want to start by talking about monster fish.
Oh, we're gonna talk monster fish.
Yeah, because I do miss having monster fish like Pangasius and stuff. And a lot of people have been asking, "Are you gonna put the giant pond in the studio?" And at least at the moment, no. We're putting a picnic table in. No,
Yeah.
we're putting in a table.
Picnic table.
But if we did put in a pond, I would do Pangasius and those types of things because they're huge. They're not angry. They don't bite other stuff. They swallow stuff. You put little stuff in there to swallow it.
Yeah,
But, I had them at 2 feet, and they were in a 305-gallon tank. But they were rescues, so, like, I want to preface that correctly with not like I went and, ooh, the draft cat's out. But anyway, another big monster fish.
Right.
I rescued them from a 75-gallon tank, and a 305 was much bigger because it was like the one at the store, so 6 feet by 5 feet front to back.
Yeah.
But
That's plenty of swimming space
yeah, but even
for
then they
them.
were bouncing off walls because they're 2 feet.
It's
So
not
it's like
a permanent home.
I mean, it wasn't
yeah.
quite Austin Powers, like, but clearly they wanted a bunch more, and so those fish were super cool, and I learned a ton about them. And they would just eat handfuls of algae wafers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they get sold. The crazier part is they just get sold at like PetSmart. I see them all the time as like iridescent sharks.
Right.
And they list them as getting 1 foot, which I think is ridiculous. I think there should be a law. I think there should be a law that if you're going to post information, so this is if, that it has to be within 10% or 20% margin of error. Like,
Yeah,
let's not even
yeah.
like
I
go to
can
the
see where
fact
you're
that you
going.
have to be like you have to be accurate, but
Just be at least close.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're gonna say a goldfish only gets 2 inches, like clearly, even because what we don't want to do is I don't want to like penalize someone to like, well, I read here and it said they could get from 8 to 14 inches, and they put 8 or they put 14, and then like they get fined or something. Like that's not the goal, but the
Yeah.
goal is like a reasonable expectation because there's a lot of fish that. I'm sure at one point they probably had like this thing will get 4 feet, and then people are like, well, I'm not buying that, and they're like,
Right.
what if we put 1 foot, and then they tested it in 6 stores, and then it started selling like hotcakes and stuff like that. But because I do know when we sold them in our store, which we sold them because I own them. That's the thing is like whenever you own something, you naturally will sell more. So if you owned a store, you'd probably be selling the crap out of plants, killifish, apistos, that kind of stuff. Because people go, well, what do you keep? And then when
Right.
you say like, oh, I have Pangasius, and they go home, they look it up, and they go, oh man, that is super cool, and they want to buy them. And everyone's got the best intentions of like, well, next year I'll have the 40,000-gallon aquarium put in, so it's not even an issue. I don't even know why you're bringing it up, man.
I'm still gunning for the 26,000-gallon aquarium, but
Seems likely.
we haven't got there yet.
Yeah,
Not with the
it's-
Patreon goal.
Nope. But so we had albinos and normals and all that kind of stuff, and it is something in my wheelhouse. Like eventually, I want like a giant either aquarium. I really want an aquarium, but maybe a pond. I think the best of both worlds would be a giant pond with giant viewing panes.
Yeah.
So like if we had like that size 800-gallon panel there, but it was on like 3 sides, I think that would be. But then I get back into the algae thing. But I do want it at some point. people are worried that I'm like getting out of fish. I'm mostly just trying to have like 12 fish tanks that look pretty okay, as opposed to 60 that are just like, oh yeah, I could clean algae for 6 hours and maybe it'll be worth looking at. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately... Yeah, I know that there's a lot of people out there that are concerned, like, you know, why isn't Cory putting 100 fish tanks in the room? And I think I think realistically, like, the easiest way to explain it would be like, it's a ton of hours of just kind of meaningless work. And not to say that it's like meaningless, but you're like, this is not entertaining, like watching like somebody just clean tanks, right? I mean, it is to a certain degree, but it's like, if you take like Oliver Knott, most of his videos that he pushes up are like him cleaning and doing maintenance on a lot of the customers that he has around the world.
Right.
But they're super time lapsed. You know what I mean? It's like, here's his 8-hour day in 12 seconds. You know, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. So what else did you do? And it's like, well, I did work today. You're like, okay, well, is there a project or anything? It was like, yeah, cleaning algae. You know? Yeah, it's like, okay, well, that's not very...
I think that was the transition.
That's not very engaging, but like, I think the easiest way to describe it would be like, hey, to be able to do interesting projects with the tanks that you have, it's like, if you have 90 of them that you need to clean every single day, the interesting projects don't ever get done.
Right.
Where you're like, oh, we're going to rewire this thing. Like, whoa, you know.
Yeah, I'm trying to put it at the, I guess, in the front seat.
Right.
It's been in the back seat, and, you know, people will be like, oh, you changed or whatever. And, yeah, that don't get me wrong, I have changed because I'm a person. But the thing that's changed the most is actually the business. Like, we're doing 4 times as much revenue as we were 2 years ago. There's a warehouse. There's more tanks even than we had. Obviously, it used to be like 2 years ago, we'd put out like 1 to 2 videos a week. Now, for pieces of content between the channels, we're at like 5.
Right.
So like everything's ramping up, and so obviously I didn't get any more time in the day, so something had to come back. And so I thought, well, if we're gonna dial something back, let's dial back what I'm keeping as opposed to what I'm offering. You know, because I wasn't finding time to even film all those tanks. And so if I'm going to travel around and go film other people's tanks, I need less tanks for myself. Right. And that's kind of what it boiled down my favorite fish, because believe it or not, I had like 60 tanks and I was able to boil it down to 10, and there's still 2 wide open. That's what's crazy to me, because if you had asked me, like, because I made my own list, right, of like, okay, what do I got to keep? And when I had the tanks, that list was much longer. And then as I had to go through like each, like, I guess, stand or wall dropping down, all of a sudden more things were able to go on the chopping block.
Right. So
now I'm down to like ladybird. So I realized I can't live without my Mabu puffers. Like, that's just can't live without. The leopard frog plecos and the L397s, I think those are got to live with me until I breed them. But I do think once I've cranked a bunch out, I'll be like, yeah, they could go if I found something else that needed to be there.
Yeah.
I've got what, 3 strains of guppies: the German Berlin buttercups, the Panda guppies, which they were on the fence. I almost took them into the store, but they're kind of here. So they're living with like the blood parrots and stuff, where you could make a case like, aren't the blood parrots going to eat all their babies? Totally might be. But they're like on the way out. Like, they could leave or they could stay. I'm kind of like, if they replicate, they can totally stay.
Right.
And then we had the best guppies in the world, which those gotta stay. I'm really in love with those. They got their own 29 to build.
Those
up
are
numbers.
dope. I'm gonna be honest with you. I looked at them like probably 100 times here, because I'd never seen them. Well, I'd never seen them anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like, other than like pictures online and stuff, which never really gives you a full representation.
The best.
But the other day I like walked up and I was like, oh, hey, you know, and you're like, yeah, I've got those and we're going to breed them. And I'm like, I only can have 2 guppies until I have more guppies.
Well, and that brings up the good point, because they'd been in my fish room for like a year now, but I had so many tanks that the average person just gets overwhelmed. They're kind of just glossing over. But now you saw them when we moved them. One, they were down low,
Right.
and then they went up to an eye level, and all of a sudden, whoa, what are? And I'm like, yeah, they've been here like the whole time, man.
Right.
Like it's so that's also what the new look will do is it'll put what I do like front and center in front of my eyes, in front of other people's eyes, and I'm really excited to watch myself have to make choices. So instead of just bringing home anything and everything because I own a fish store and it's easy as saying, yeah, let's put that in a bucket, you know,
Right. Yeah.
that I now
I'm
would have
driving
to
to
go,
my house. Yes.
right, now I'd have to go, well, is it worth getting rid of these platies I really like for this? And then if not, and I'm not sure that, I don't think it's unreasonable, and that's the other thing is like, I'm a guy that owns a store and had 60 aquariums at home. I'm not sure it's unreasonable for one human to only own 10. Like, that's still a lot of aquariums for your average person.
Yeah.
It's 10 aquariums, and you got to remember, like, well, it's actually 12 aquariums. So you got an 800-gallon, you got the 230-gallon, 4 125s, a couple of 75s. So it's not like I'm hamstrung with, like, dang, I've only got, 7 1-gallon Betta vases and,
Right, and you're
a
like-
20-gallon and a cracked 10-gallon type of deal. It's like there's a lot of real estate to play with, and I was way under managing what I could do,
Right.
And so I saw Fish Girl in the chat said one day I'll have an animal room. That has been on the back of my mind. Like, what if I added like crested geckos in the room or something, like something else, like it's like not just purely fish, like because I actually have room. I could do.
You could.
I don't want to go crazy on it, but I thought it would be funny to like borrow someone's bird, have it over here, and then you come to work and you'd be like, "There's a bird in here."
Why is
Like
there
I
a
thought we were
bird in
building
here
a studio for like quiet noise and like.
Yeah. Now there's a bird going crazy.
Oh man, but it definitely made me, and that's the good thing is I've done this a couple times in my life. It made me realize what I do really love because it's what you bring with you. So when I moved from I used to live in a duplex where I had a fish room, and I found a bunch of pictures. We need to do like a show and tell. Do you have a bunch segue or sidebar? Do you have a bunch of pictures from old fish rooms and like?
Do I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should do like a throwback episode of like, here was my first fish room. Here's what I thought was super cool at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do that. I mean, I think I've been documenting it. Not okay. There's a much longer timeline than what I've been documenting.
Right.
But I think I've done a fair job of documenting, like, oh, I used to have everything in this crappy apartment, and then like, oh, I rented this space
'Cause I only
downtown,
started
and I moved
following
everything
you-
there, and that didn't work out. And then I moved it to West Seattle, and then I had a
Yeah.
place there, and then I moved to Tacoma. Yeah, so
But do you have
I
any
know.
pictures of like your first tanks or anything like that, or like stuff
when
that
I was a
predates
kid?
video? Just stuff that predates like I'm gonna put it on YouTube. Because I know my wife's got those kind of pictures.
I don't know
of
if I have
her-
like a ton of those or anything.
Yeah, but not a ton, but just a few, just to be like.
I mean,
whoa,
maybe,
bizarre.
but I was weird. When Vicky and I were over at my mom's house, we were looking through old pictures of me and stuff, and
Okay.
like trying to find stuff, but I didn't really see anything. It just, I don't think it was very commonplace for like my family to take pictures of like, here's
Right.
your room with
Right.
you in it when I was a kid. Just because like, if you look through all my kid pictures, they're like, here you are jumping off a cliff, and here you are like at Disneyland, and here you are like,
Yeah.
I was like,
bigger moments in
Yeah.
their mind. Then yeah.
here
'Cause
you
I-
are at the Expo 86 where you wandered off and got lost for a day.
Because I got pictures, like at the beginning, I was still into clown loaches. I had some ornate bichers and juraparis and that kind of stuff that I was not taking video because, I don't know, why would, at that point, like, why would you take video?
Why would you? Why?
Yeah, I had a picture, that's my wife. And I found some pictures of like my wife taking a picture of something else. The aquarium was like in the background, so it wasn't like even the focal point. But I was showing it to some other nerds, and they were like, "Oh man, it was cool to be like, oh man, you were dumb and ghetto, like that wasn't that cool at all." Be like, "Oh, but it was really cool to me at the time," So, but I do find it funny that some of my oldest pictures have clown loaches. I now have clown loaches now. I didn't have them for a little while, but I really had to come back to them, and then. So getting back to moving from like the duplex to So basically, we moved from a duplex, and I started the store at the same time, and my wife started a new job. And so I knew I wasn't going to be there long term, like maybe a year or two. I think we stayed there for 18 months or something like that.
Okay.
And so I didn't really set up the fish room. I set up, and it's in my videos. I had it like, what was it? It was 6 40-gallon breeders and my desk. So it'd be like right behind me here. I'd have 6 40 breeders on a wall. That's all I could have. And I pretty much had, so I had Panda guppies still. So I had Panda guppies. I had my Variatus platies that I love. I had a big colony of crystal shrimp that I got rid of because those, they were purely oh cool, I did it and I'm doing it. And then when it came time to like move the tank, I was like, yeah, just get rid of these. It's funny how the metric becomes cut and dry when it's like, oh, to keep this is a ton of work. Are you interested in that? And then all of a sudden you're like, nope, they can go. You know,
right.
Like that. It's a real interesting metric when, because I was worried like, oh god, they're gonna get shocked by the water, so I'd really have to save all this water. You know, because it's I didn't have, I was breeding all of them, but I didn't have an RO unit.
Oh, okay.
So I let ADA soil set the pH and everything. And if I just like drain it, walk them over here, fill it back up, like the pH is going to shock them.
Yeah.
So I would have had to move all 40 gallons of water an hour away and all that. So I was like, just take them to the store, sell them off, whatever. And then what else? Oh, so my Mumbu puffer made the trip. Okay. And my clown loaches ended up going from my living room to the store, and that's where they got sold. I'll never make that mistake again.
Right.
Don't put stuff you don't want to sell in a retail store, even if you put not for sale on it, because someone will offer you money you don't want to turn down.
Right.
And then you go, oh, there it goes. And that's the thing. At the time, I really needed the money. Like, that amount of money meant a lot. Whereas right now, if I could buy them all back for twice or 3 times the amount of money, I'd be like, I'll do it today. You know, so it's weird that, you know, the store was smaller and struggling for sure.
Right.
And you hit a slow month and you're going, oh, making payroll. Yeah, it makes some sense to sell these off as opposed to keep them around forever. But I do think clown loaches are going to be in my forever zone. Do you have a forever fish?
I don't know that I have a forever fish.
Have you done any of the got rid of it, got to get it back type of deal?
Yeah, I've done that, like, to a degree.
What fish has done that for you? Because there's a lot of fish where I did
one
it
that has always
like,
come. There's always one that's come in and out, and that's
glowfish,
white cloud mountain minnows.
Okay.
Those, they're vexing little fish. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Like, I get them, I breed them, and then I'm like, yeah, get out of here.
Yeah.
Why is there 200 of you now? Get out of here. And then I'll sell them for like $3 for 200 fish or something. You know, like, here's the rehoming fee of 12 cents, you know. Or like I'll pay somebody's gas money to come pick it up. You know what I mean? Like, I'll give you $10 if you come over and grab them.
That's right. I just want to see them have a good home.
I want to make sure they have a good home. They're my buddies. And then you know, like 8 months will go by or something, and then you're like, I should probably like grab like 8 of those, you know, just like throw them in a little color, you know, they got a little personality, you know, this and that, and then it's like 8 months after that, you know, why are there 200 of you again? What is happening?
Are you gonna build them into like the aquaponics thing? Like, I know you're doing koi, but is there gonna be like a side?
There probably will be a side fish. I'm not 100% on what the side fish will be. There would certainly be on the list because you can overwinter those guys. Yeah. In our area.
Gold white cloud looks sweet.
It would be cool. The gold version are the ones that always end up like, oh hey buddy, how you doing? Yeah, you're pretty. You're a pretty little fish. Bettas are one that always come in and out. That's for sure.
You don't have any though right now, right?
I don't have any right now.
Yeah.
So, but if I didn't have the Achilles, if I didn't have the Achilles, then I would I would definitely have a beta by now. If I didn't have the Achilles, I would have.
So I was going to ask you, how do you fall into the betta trap? Is it like you wake up and you're like, I need a betta in my life, or is it like, well, I had to go pee, so I was going to stop at this fish store just to go pee, and then there was this magnificent creature I had to own.
Yeah, the koi betas are hard to not want when you see them. You know what I mean?
Now they've worn off on me. Like I've seen a ton of them, so I'm like, yeah, I could take it or leave it.
Right.
You know, for me, it's like Gian's, like Inglorious Bettas. Whenever I visit like a breeder's house, and then I'm just like, oh my god, it's like a guppy and a betta mated.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that. I've never seen that color or that crazy mix of things before, but they never want to give them up. They always got a death grip. They're like, well, I know I'm down to about 4,000 bettas, but they're all in the running for 2018.
They're all very important. They're all very important. Yeah.
And then they always, like, what always happens, and they're always like, oh, well, you know, I had to sell some, so I sold them all to a pet store for $6.
Right.
And you're like, but I had like a standby flight ready for whenever you wanted to get rid of a couple. Yeah.
That's very true. That's very true. But what were we talking? We were talking about monster fish.
Originally, yeah, how I love monster fish.
And then now we're talking about the in and out fish. But there was a couple of things I wanted to mention about the monster fish is that there probably will be, and this is inspired by the conversation with your wife yesterday. It's like, there probably will be some monster fish in my life and your life.
Yeah.
Moving forward. They're probably just not going to exist in that room over there.
I can believe that.
It's going to be along a different line of some building projects that both you and I are doing. Yeah. You know, so.
Because my wife is crazy enough to be like, oh, I know Cory wants that. We'll do that.
Because the question I always get from, like, non-fish keeper people is like, oh, do you have, like, one of those arowanas?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, it's always, like, non-fish keeper people. It's like, that's their immediate go-to because they read some kind of article.
Do they say arowana or do they say dragonfish?
No, sometimes they say dragonfish. Yeah. Or they're, like, the one that kind of looks like Falcor from The Never-Ending Story. Yeah. You know, in the face a little bit.
I like to ride him around.
I like to ride my fish around.
I'm not an arowana lover.
I'm not an arowana lover, like, personally. I don't.
I think they're decently cool. They're decently cool. I just know they're like stingrays for me. They're cool. I just don't need to own them.
Right. Right.
There was that. What was it? What was that store called in the International District?
There's QT.
It wasn't that. King's Discus.
King's Discus.
King's Discus had the biggest ones I ever saw. They were, and this is one of those things, like anyone ever telling a fish story.
If it was 4 feet, if it was an inch.
Right. You know, so like, realize I'm probably overshooting it by a little bit because it's from memory, but I felt like it was 4-inch. But the most impressive part, or 4-inch, it was this big. You wouldn't have believed it.
It was
4 feet. It really was like a foot top to bottom though, and like 4 or 5 inches thick. It was the most massive arowana I had ever seen, and I've seen a lot. I mean, I worked at a store. I used to fish store hop all the time. I remember walking through there, and they had it in like a 380 gallon tank, and it was like having, you know, it in a bathtub. Like, it was not big enough, like, at all. Like, that thing was massive, massive, bigger than anyone I'd ever seen in a public zoo. It was crazy, and that was the day I knew that I'm like, I never need to own one of these because now I know I've seen the potential, like the true potential. I'm going, that would be insanely hard to actually provide an environment where
an actual environment.
Oh, I love it here.
Yeah, an actual environment, and that's. So I used to go to the store in West Seattle, which was like the Pond and Aquarium or something like that. Yeah. I don't know if you ever stopped by there when they had like their alligator gars and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had that huge, it's like a swimming pool cage of madness.
They had arapimas and all kinds of stuff.
Arapimas, yeah, they had those in there.
They had that netting so that they didn't like jump out and kill you.
It was fencing. It was chain link fencing. You don't want these.
He got those from Ted. Do you know about Ted? The guy that had like the 50,000 gallon in Bellevue. So it was a local guy that had. It was like 50,000 gallons, and he had it built in, and it was crazy amount of money. And his food bill was like $1,000 a month because he had all these giant monster fish, and he was getting old, and it was purely
feeding him chicken and steak and stuff.
He was feeding him hot dogs, like
hot dogs.
No, like the no nitrate hot dogs.
Oh wow!
In addition to a lot of other stuff, like he'd have to put in like 50-pound bags of food and stuff, and so it was actually getting hard for him to get the 50-pound bags of food like up the stairs to the top of the thing to feed. And but he had, so that's where all those like giant arapimas and like Niger cats and the 2-foot plus peacock bass, all that stuff that was just like, those are the biggest of those I've ever seen. All came from him.
The random fish, because he
Yeah.
actually showed me all the collecting of the alligator gars and all that kind of stuff, because they documented it, because they imported them.
Yeah.
So they had all the like photographic documentation of like, here's where we caught it, then this is where we brought it through, and they had all that stuff. But I think a bunch of the gars that they had there were like almost 8 foot or something. You know,
It was
they were
nutty.
crazy big.
It was nutty.
And feeding them was just chaos. That was just madness.
But even there, like, I feel like their like swimming pool thing there might have been like, being generous, but it might have been 16 by 16.
It was like just big enough to like have them in there.
Yeah,
it was not.
And so 16 foot by 16 foot by, I think it was like 4 foot tall, because it seemed to come up to about chest level.
Maybe 4 or 5 feet. Maybe it was buried in the ground. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. It's probably a little bit in the ground, but even that's where like it clearly was way too small.
Yeah,
like for what they were, and that's where it's like this building, the entire building, if turned into a pond, would
you could have like one of those gar in there.
Yeah, I mean Rusty Wessel
with the other smaller fish.
We went to his place, and he's got this big pond. He's got a paddlefish in there.
Oh, okay.
Those things get ridiculous. We couldn't see it because I guess it likes to hang out low. He says he gets a glimpse of it every once in a while, but it's getting bigger. Those things, they also get like, oh yeah, there's my 12-foot fish. You know, like he's just hanging out. Yeah, but the mubu puffer, someone said, isn't that a monster fish? It is. But I guess there's something for me with a more sedentary fish at 3 feet is way different than like pacu and arowanas and stuff that's going to, one, get 25% bigger and wants to be crazy active. Like, I feel like I got to dance. I got to run around. You know, I got to do stuff.
Space for activities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a way different scenario. And I do, you know, I get that a mubu puffer would be like, well, I want a tank is the size of this building. Like, I do think that's what will happen, by the way, is you guys see the studio. If you've been watching us at all, like myself or Joel, know that 2 years from today, nothing we do will look anything like it does today. Because we'll be like, oh, that'd be a cool idea. We should do that. Like, he's changed fish rooms a bunch. I've changed fish rooms a bunch. And so it might be like, oh, Ladybirds needs a bigger tank. Should we put in the 5,000-gallon aquarium? Well, we got to cut that wall down so that the forklift can get through. But then I can have Joel build a wall back. Right. You know, like
just put that wall back up.
Stuff like that will probably come down the road, and I think that's what people are a little bit freaked out about. Is they're just like, he got rid of all his fish, but what if we just do the Real Fish Talk podcast for a year, and then we've had all the people we want on the podcast? Like, I'm sure it'd take longer, but let's just say we're like, yeah, we've tracked down every authority on everything we could do. Right. Let's make this a little bit smaller.
We did 300 episodes with every fish person we could find.
Yeah, I actually think what would happen, by the way, is that my truth be told, my next plan, and this could be 5 years down the road, could be next year, whatever, is that Real Fish Talk, Aquarium Co-op, Joel will all grow to a point where it's like, no, we got to go get a warehouse, because either A, we need to start shipping fish, or B, we want to do fan get-togethers, and I'm not inviting the internet the entire internet just show up at my house. That's a bad idea. So we would need like everyone can go to, lot 7B is the meetup.
That's right.
And there's a security gate to
come
get
on
in.
down to Pier 5.
Yeah, exactly. So
Terminal 5.
And that's the thing is, like, if you're actually thinking forward, which I try to do, so I alleviate my work a little bit, is that so maybe I still have 12 aquariums here, but now we have an entire warehouse that we're building out with maybe some big tanks, a studio, and so I don't plan on shutting these down. I guess that's the other point is I don't really, the tanks that are being built in right now, they're permanent fixtures. Like, I don't plan on ever tearing them down. Yeah. So I don't necessarily want like, oh, there's 100 tanks that you'll never tear down, because they're built like walls, so it's like tearing walls down at this point. They're not just like, oh, I'll undo a couple of screws and out come the stand. They're built in. Like, seriously, it will be bad to take them out. Like, it'll take a remodel. Like if I was to sell this place, like, oh, you might want to dress that back up when you're done.
Well, yeah, just a little skim, a little paint.
Yeah, little rigmarole.
Little skim, little paint, a little trim. Yeah.
So you don't see a lot of giant gouramis in the U.S. I kept them back in my Pangasius days. I had the pink one, so the pink true giant gourami, and Robert at the store is keeping the red tail giant gourami.
Okay.
So he's got the norm. But yeah, so a lot of this stuff's just not super common. Like arowana is super common. I'm not downplaying. I'm just saying in terms of monster fish, I would say arowanas are more common than like pacu, and that's a good game. Can you think of any other giant fish that's more common than an arowana?
More common?
Yeah, because I feel
like in the fish keeping.
Yeah, I feel like people
I think
that
red
get
tail
arowana.
catfish are accidentally.
But do you think they're more prevalent?
I think they're more prevalent.
Really?
I think they're more prevalent than arowana because I see them small.
Right.
Often.
Right, but you could see I could see a bag of 5,000 Pangasius. But let's say you were going to go visit people's homes. I think I see, like in business and all that kind of stuff, I think I see way more arowanas than I would ever see red tail cats. I think it's like 100 to 1 on those. Like I would see 100 arowanas.
Like actually in a big tank.
Right, that let's say like actually grew up to any size where they didn't get killed instantly, like, oh yeah, I killed it at 4 inches. Like I just think
accidental giant plecos come to mind. I see that a lot.
Okay. I could hear that.
I see that a lot because they can get to 2 foot in a 55. Like someone's just like, I don't know, he's like stuck in the castle.
I think you might be right with that. I think the common pleco might be more prevalent than the arowana.
Man.
Because there is so many of them sold, and it's just a numbers thing of like, out of every 100, one of them's got to hit 2 feet. Whereas I feel like out of arowanas, probably out of 100, 60 or 70 hit giant status. Because they really know going in, like, this thing's going to get huge. And that's the lure. People come in like, I need myself a giant arowana.
Right.
Whereas, like, the red-tailed cats, they're like, oh, that just looks cool.
Quick question, because I'm drawing a blank.
All right.
But CNH has a great point. Oscars. I've seen big Oscars.
I just don't consider them to be monster fish.
I wouldn't consider them to be monster, but I'm trying to think of what the big black Oscar is. I'm trying to think of what it was. I'm drawing a blank because it's like I haven't bothered to do any research.
I'm trying to think like maybe like a chocolate cichlid, maybe like blue or black and white striped would be like Budacophori.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what it is. It's not. That's on my future list. Is to do a giant Oscar tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, which always surprises people. They're like, "You do? You don't like Oscars?" I'm like, "I don't like Oscars in my tank."
Yeah.
Because my tanks right now, I can't have Oscars.
I've gone into the rant of
at some point in time, when the time is right, I'll set up like an 800 or a 600 or something and put like 5 or 6 Oscars in there, and it'll be Thunderdome. It'll be a little crazy, but
yeah,
someday I'll do that. It's on
my
list.
There was a guy that had a 700-gallon dedicated to Oscars that was mind-blowingly cool, and that was the day that changed my mind that fish I don't like are still amazing in the right setup.
Right.
So even if I'm like, oh, I don't even really like arowanas, tomorrow I could totally go be like, I need an arowana. I saw that guy's setup, mind-blowingly cool.
I've seen
He had monkeys living above the arowanas.
I've seen a couple of arowana tanks that were, for lack of a better way to put it, like really, really interesting.
Yeah.
But it's far diminished by the amount of arowana tanks that I've seen that are like, really? What do you...
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, and I do think it comes back to...
It's like a frontosa tank. You almost always see people, when they have frontosas, like they just push the gravel around so much and everything, they kind of just give up. They're like, fine, I'm taking the gravel out. I'm taking whatever. You just live in here, I
mean, frontosas in the right setup are wicked cool. I think the difference is, like, when I see a really cool arowana tank, let's just say it's 3,000 gallons. I don't know what it is, but let's say it's cool, it's 3,000 gallons. I instantly think of, like, you know what I would do with that tank? And never am I going, yep, I'd put an arowana in. I would do something else with it.
Oh, yeah.
But there are some, like that Oscar tank that I saw. It was like, no, I want this exact thing that's going on in my house.
Right.
But a lot of times, like, oh, I want that aquarium, but not the fish. I would totally do X or Y. Mm-hmm. So that's... And somehow... You're having a blowout over there?
I'm all right. I almost died.
Okay. But I've done Oscars a couple of times, and I always get them to about 4 inches before I'm like, I'm just not into them. Mm-hmm. But I do love them. I think the problem for me with them is I don't love them enough to get them the big tank.
Oh.
So like they'll outgrow, like, let's say the 40 breeder or the 55. I also had them. The one time I did have them that I was digging on them, I had some gold variants, some gold Oscars or the lemons. They were different than you'd normally see, though, because people are like, I seen them.
Yeah.
But when I'd show them, people were like, dang, what are those? Where'd those come from? And it's like, select picked from a wholesaler.
I got these from the moon.
Yeah, they were super cool, and they were with my albino arowana and all my clown loaches, that type of stuff. And they were at my second home before this, and they went to the store. And so those I just sold off because I knew I was like, I'm probably not going to set up a tank for them. I did like them, but they still weren't like the star of the show. It was always the clown loaches in that tank of like, oh, clown loach is super cool.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the problem, is maybe I keep pairing fish with something I like more, and then by default they become the one I don't like.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe for you it's pairing ice cream with like the best cheeseburger in the world, and you're like, well, clearly
Shut your mouth.
ice cream's just better.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah. You know, so you think less of the cheeseburger because the ice cream is your number one, and if that's your number two.
Corey found out yesterday that Vicky doesn't let me dip the fries in the shake.
I didn't realize that's what the you know, if you can imagine
She's like, what are you doing?
the cartoon Wile E. Coyote like ball of scrapping, you know, like just that cloud. I didn't realize that's what was going on, is that it was based on fries and a shake.
Well, yeah.
My wife loves that. I mean, I'll do it, but I don't think it gets better than fries or the shake by putting them together. I think it's just like, oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a thing.
It's a thing that you're doing.
I mean, yeah, when I was 12, you dip fries in like a Frosty.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's better.
That was a pretty good shake, though. That was actual ice cream shake.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Crazy. What flavor did you get?
Chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
Bruh.
You went.
What am I going to do? Strawberry? No good.
They had blueberry. You were talking mad blueberry game.
No,
day
that's
before.
specific to that one place that was
Okay.
not open.
Okay.
That's very specific to the blueberry farm. Because they
blueberry
literally,
farm.
those guys right there, they literally pick the blueberries
Vine,
outside.
You like your vine to shake?
It's vine to shake, bro.
Yeah.
Bruh. But we definitely have to go to that place when it's
right.
open this summer. We got to drive up there.
That's rough because I don't like places that are warm and sunny.
Well,
That's why
we go
I
up
sit
the
in-
mountains. It gets cooler and refreshing.
You're gonna taunt me with a hike, though. I know it. Like, come on, get that milkshake. Let's hike to the top of this mountain.
Well, Jimmy and I will go up there.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe I'll just like keep it cool on the way back, man.
We'll just Photoshop you in.
Yeah.
After the fact.
I'll go. I'll torture myself at least once.
Yeah.
Baller sharks are super common. I really see them anywhere close to
Ooh.
potential. I kept them at 14 to 16 inches with those Pangasius stuff because I was rescuing those because, like, why not? For a while there, I was like, let me just see if a 305-gallon tank is big enough for these species, because people would be like, I'm going to get myself like 180 gallons. It's going to be fine. I'd be like, well, in my personal experience, at 305 gallons, not even close. Still bouncing off walls. And I had like 8 of them at that 14, or they were at least 12 inches plus. Some were really big. The least ones were 12 inches, which are still big for a baller shark. But they're just torpedoes, man. Just zing, if they want to. They zoom right across like it's nothing. They go doink. And then people always say, like, well, you didn't have the tank set up right. Like, well, if you were there, you'd watch like 70 different iterations of like, let's try lining the sides with plastic plants. Let's try painting it. Let's try sneezing into the mic.
Bless you.
Sorry about that.
That's a hot mic, bro.
Yeah, it snuck up on me. But we paint the sides. We would change the lighting. We tried all these things because the Pangasius would just bounce off walls.
Oh, yeah.
And the problem was, when you know you don't have the right home for something, but you know no one else does either.
Right.
Like, what do? You can only keep trying to make your home better, because it's not like, well, who wants these beat up Pangasius missing flesh from his pectorals because they'd rubbed off in the 75-gallon tank, so bones were sticking out, and he was blind. Like, it's not easy. You're like, who's got a ridiculously big aquarium that wants this super hammered on fish that is named Andre the Giant, blind, with bones sticking out, gentle and cool, but at 305 gallons with 6 foot by 5 foot, still not even close to big enough. I
Yeah.
eventually found a tropical pond
It's not big
with
enough.
a stingray breeder. But So it was on me to just keep like, I'm not gonna like, well, back to the 75-gallon you go. Sorry, man, we tried.
Yes, sir, bud.
So I just kept, because obviously he'd bounce off the walls or whatever, and you'd feel horrible because you get spooked. But we just tried to limit that as much as we could. And, but yeah, we tried. I spent so much on lighting and different stuff. And that's where I was like, man, it's got to be just a sheer space issue of like, it wiggles its butt. It hits the other side of a 6-foot tank because he's 2 feet long.
Yeah.
That's like me falling out of this chair. Like, I'm gonna land at least 2 feet away. Like, no matter what I do, I'm not gonna like fall out of my chair and land back in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like one of those things. Is that, like, sometimes you find out the real hard way about whether or not your setup is big enough for whatever you got. But nowadays with the internet, it was really common back in the day. It was really common back in the day. You would see like, oh man, what's this fish doing in here? Like, what are you doing? And people would talk about like, well, they say he'll grow to the size of the tank, and you're like, so you have an intention to try and like stunt his growth somehow? Like, what are you doing? But I know that you and I were talking about it with doing some pond stuff outside and things that hopefully that'll lead to us being able to do some bigger fish that we're looking forward to. Because right now I could get those fish and then be like trying to move them and like keep them happy as they get bigger and stuff like that. But I don't think that that's really a beneficial way. I would like to have the forever home set up ahead of time and go like, yeah, I've got 18,000 gallons. It's going to be good for these.
I try to practice that, but I'm not always the best. Like, the one exception I keep making is for Mabu puffers, but I know I'm so in love with them that I 100% will just buy bigger aquariums for them.
Well, one Mabu, like moving it up and up, actually makes sense
too. But
well, I'm just saying, like, moving them up, because they're not like real fast growers. They don't need a ton of actual swimming space to go distances, right?
And like I've got the giraffe cats. Those are ones that to be fair though, I think I have only ever had giraffe cats when I had tanks. Even back in the day, it was at least 300 gallons.
One of them's out today.
Yeah, one of them's finally out. Like, people are always like, are they even there? Did they move out? Like, no, they're there. He's just out trolling for food.
You heard there was food.
Yeah. What are you guys talking about? Bigger tanks? Let me make an appearance. Let me show my face, and maybe you'll be like, hey, we should get together sometime, make a bigger tank. Yeah. But the giraffe cats are super cool when they get to like 2 feet, because they're machines. Yeah. They're super cool.
Some people were talking about, what were they talking about? Like spotted bass and, what am I thinking of?
Peacock bass?
Peacock bass and those kinds of things. I think Kevin Keener just answered it realistically. It was too bad we couldn't take over the Cabela's tank. I actually have a Cabela's like really near to us where I can go see giant bass and all that kind of stuff in their huge tank that they have there. So I know that a lot of people are like, yeah, do that. And I'm like, I don't really need to, because it's like right down the road. I can actually just go and check them out.
That's the perfect example of like, oh, that's a sweet tank. I would do anything except for what they're doing in it right now. Like,
I would do something completely different in that tank. But
yeah.
But like, that's why I'm like, oh, I don't need to do
Here's
peacock
the million-dollar
bass.
question.
Oh, I don't need
what
to
are you going to do with the Cabela's tank? Let's say you had it. Like, let's just say for whatever reason they're like, Joel, we need you to maintenance it and make it look cool. What would you put in the public eye? So not in your own home, but what would you do in a public setting with? Let's say it's 4,000 gallons. I don't know what it is, but
I'd do a planted crystal shrimp tank.
I think you're nuts. There'd be no way you could upkeep that.
Planted shrimp tank.
You couldn't upkeep
8,000 gallon planted shrimp tank.
It would be cool, but that's why I like why Amano needed like an army of people.
I'd be trolling for everybody.
I understand.
Everybody be tripping.
I would do. What would I do? So I
just think if that's that's not necessarily what I would do.
Yeah,
but if I was setting that up,
let's say you knew it was for Cabela's, and a bunch of people are going to see it.
Well, I do have to take like the customer's wants.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
are we just totally disregarding? Let's just say 10,000 gallon tank. I get to set it up. No one can
hundreds of
tell
thousands
me.
of people are going to see it a year.
No one can tell me what to do.
Right.
Right?
But you do have to, let's say you have to maintenance it, so you're not just like, you make something so crazy, where you're like, good luck, you know. Like, it's got to be reasonable. Like, what would you do if they're like, okay, Joel, we're going to pay you $20,000. We need you to design what's going to go in here and upkeep it for a year. What would you do?
Well, I'd charge more first.
All right.
If I got to upkeep it for the whole year.
I mean, that doesn't seem that bad. 20 grand? You don't have to pay for the fish. That's your consulting fee. That's over $1,000 a month. That's still probably not enough. You're right, but let's say the number was right.
That's
Whatever.
a lot.
Whatever.
Yeah, let's just say the number was right.
Yeah.
And I'm just,
You worked out.
I'm just making a joke.
You struck a deal.
I'm just making a joke.
You struck a deal.
So let's say, and I could do whatever I wanted.
Yes, knowing that, like, you know, the public's gonna view it. Like, obviously, you're in the spirit of like you'd want people to enjoy it instead of like, I would put pink gravel and no fish. Ha! Like that.
And a pineapple house, man.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
You gotta go legit, right? What would I do? I would most likely do an Amazon-style blackwater tank planted with a canopy above it.
So this is assuming that the tank's already in place. Would you drop the water level down to accommodate that canopy then? Oh, you're insane.
Only like, well, let's say it's like a 10,000 gallon tank, so we'd have to do the math to figure that out. But let's say it's 10 foot tall.
Sure.
Just for size grins, right?
Yep.
So you could bring it down. You'd only have to bring it down like 2 foot.
Like 7 feet or something. Like, so it's
3 so it's
feet
probably
okay.
Yeah, so it'd still be above. So as you were viewing up, you'd be looking up through like the bottom of the water to kind of get that experience, but then you'd be able to see everything that was going on down here. I would build some really big rock work so all the root and everything would be growing down. And then I would scape that probably with like pretty slow growing like larger anubias and probably things along that nature that would be more easy to maintain. You know, because they don't need a ton of trimming or necessarily, but you just need to make sure your lighting and water parameters are correct and they're not going to like grow algae all over them or anything. And I think I would probably do like a black water biotope like that because you could have.
And so would you do like discus and stuff, or what fish would you do?
Probably altums. I'd probably do altums and then other schooling fish. That's probably what I would do.
Like how many altums?
If it was going to be for the public, because we have to bear in mind that like we're talking about we got to have some fish that do have some personality but not too much personality so that people could like go check it out, right?
Right. Your whole goal is not to be like, look, I made you a real crappy aquarium. Are you guys happy with that? Like, it would be like,
I'd probably do the really big altums, you know.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would do. And then, you know, with all the root work and stuff coming down, then you could do a lot of branch work coming up and kind of fill in. And then, you know, with a lot of anubias and stuff like that, you could maintain green all year round and not be too concerned about like flowering or die off or any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think that's probably what I would do if I had to pick, because you could do the altums with like other schooling fish and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they'll generally hang in a nice viewing level.
Yeah.
You know, if you had like a 10-foot tank, you brought it down, they would generally hang right in the viewing area of people.
Maybe you could put like splash tetras in there just so that they lay their eggs above the thing. Although the public wouldn't care about that. They'd just be like,
no,
the fish are jumping. Cabela would call you back and be like, every day people are talking about the fish jumping out of the tank. Thanks, guy.
Thanks, guy.
Could you catch those back out? And you'd be like, no, it's impossible. So I initially thought, what looks cool when I see it? And big tanks filled with like 1 billion damsels and stuff. Like that color is always looking cool. And then I was like, well, I do it freshwater though. And then I was like, would I do African cichlids? And I was like, yeah, that's a little played too. And then I thought maybe guppies. And I was like, everyone expects me to say guppies. So I think I would do like the biggest Aranda goldfish you've ever seen. Like the fancy goldfish.
Oh.
Because you could do koi, and koi would be much easier to take care of because they're kind of bulletproof. But everyone goes like, oh yeah, the Cabela's, you know, they got them big koi fish. People are like, yeah, I've been to Hawaii, I've seen some big koi fish, you know. But I think something like arandas and stuff would be different enough that people wouldn't just call them like, look, there's koi, but then they'd be like, dang, those things do get huge. And then goldfish connoisseurs would be like, dang, someone finally did it. A tank at the bare minimum size for an Aranda goldfish, you know? The only problem I fear is that there wouldn't be a lot of green, because I think that many big goldfish, you'd probably run into some problems.
Mm-hmm.
But they also wouldn't have to heat it. That's the other, like, all right, they wouldn't go broke heating that thing.
Mm-hmm. I'd imagine that, like, inside a retail store, it's probably fairly easy to heat.
Yeah,
though.
you're probably only heating it up from 68. Like, I don't take a temperature every time I walk into a store.
The baseline is like 68, yeah.
I do know, like, oh, it's 65 and someone's chilly. They're not spending money, so.
Right.
Unless you're like, hold on, we need to sell coats. Drop that temperature down.
Oh, yeah, we gotta sell coats because it's going to be cold.
It's cold out. Yeah,
I got to buy these coats, guys.
Yeah.
That's pretty smart,
I think
actually.
a big goldfish thing would be really cool, because I think a lot of people would be like, wow, have you seen that? Mm-hmm. And then for the people that wouldn't say, like, wow, have you seen that? They probably don't know enough about fish anyway, so they're just impressed by anything. You know, like, random person off the street doesn't keep a fish tank. They're probably like, yeah, it's a big tank. And whatever's in it is irrelevant, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you were like, you know, oh, sweet, I put anglerfish in there or something, like something super bizarre and cool.
Angler.
Yeah.
You could do anglerfish, I guess.
They make those dwarf ones for saltwater,
You
right?
wouldn't want to go, like, super bizarro fish.
Right. If you go too bizarre, then you're losing people of like,
yeah,
no, it's cool because it's not cool. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. You're like it's cool because it's not cool.
Yeah. No one ever does a tank full of blind cave tetra, and it's like,
yeah, no one ever gets it.
That's the reason no one does a tank full of blind cave tetra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
But I would say like that. That's probably the style I would go for. But honestly, I would probably try to work a deal that I could do 4 tanks. That's probably what I'd be trying to do. Realistically,
all 4 Cabela's.
Can we do
that
4?
Yeah, I'll hit all of them in this territory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I could do them all different.
Although I bet you goldfish might not work out, because once they start breeding, there'd probably be infinite reports of like, they're beating that female to death. You know, Sally's crying over in the corner because that goldfish is getting beat up. So that'd probably be a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's why a lot of stuff doesn't exist, because you find out a year and a half into it that was a mistake. Like,
right.
Oh. But the goldfish would be super easy to catch out. Those wiggly butt, you're just like, all right, you guys aren't working out. Whereas like catching out,
all you need is that pool net.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoop, in you're out. Whoop. Yeah. So I do think it'd be cool though. I still want to do it. I told my New Year's resolution was to not set up any more tanks, but I think it's gonna be really hard not to set up that 280-gallon aquarium that we have in the garage.
Was your plan to not set that up?
My plan when I said it was to not set up any more tanks than what we have.
Oh.
But then I was like,
you and I never agreed on that.
That 280 is sweet.
You and I never agreed on that.
We didn't agree on it, no.
Because that's not what you said before. Did you
I know,
change your mind?
No.
You stayed up late and changed your mind.
That's
in the wee hours of the morning.
3 o'clock in the morning. I said,
I'm gonna make a resolution. I'm gonna make a resolution.
Yeah.
Resolved.
Well, because I was at the store and I saw the leopard bushfish, or the tenopoma leaf fish, like not the true one, but like, you know, the one you see at like PetSmart.
I'm trying to think of what that is.
They're all spotty.
In my head.
They call them the bushfish. I don't know how to explain them otherwise, but I really want those still. And I saw them and we were like, oh yeah, we have these in the store. Like, wait, I was supposed to keep these, but I don't really have a tank for them. And that I wanted to do an oddball tank of like the 280, where it's like, check it out, it's my ghost knife, my leopard fish, like maybe some blood parrots, maybe, you know, a pleco, maybe other weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have a tank for that. So the 280, but then I'm like, where am I going to set it up? So yeah, I haven't decided yet, but I can't set up 5 more tanks. That's what I know. I know for sure, like, maybe there's one more, but we can't make more exceptions, because if you just make an exception every week, pretty soon you're like, you have 60 aquariums again. What have you done? You know?
Oops.
Yeah. So that's not a good idea. But then the other one, so that 280-gallon tank, I was wavering back and forth between the oddball tank that I want and fancy goldfish, because I want them back. Because I have none, and I love them, but I don't have any currently. Maybe we just need to build. See, but then I'm like, but what if we just put in a pond and I do fancy goldfish outside?
Mm-hmm.
because I can't do those other ones outside. I don't know. See, too many options. Too many options. Too many options.
Well, we're 1 hour in.
Yeah,
we gotta hit our super chats here.
Better hit up the super chats.
Super chat, super chat, super chat time.
Yeah. All right. Oh wait, I think LG3 Nation was the first, but he's way up here in the Wayback Machine.
Way up in the
I
weeds.
gotta click the button. I couldn't scroll far enough up. We've been
LG3 Nation had a $2.15 super chat.
I believe it was. Yeah, I just didn't want to quote it and have it be like $2.17 and then short. Oh, look at that! You like that from YouTube? Big old broken error. Let me try
That's
that
a
again.
shout out right there from the 500 internal
Yeah.
server error.
See if it'll work this time. All right, it worked this time. See,
Hey,
I
there
tell
we go.
you, YouTube doesn't like me.
Oh, we only have 3 to run through.
Yeah.
Okay.
LG3 Nation with $2.15 super chat. Thank you much, buddy. Then we have Jules the Walker.
Jules.
Says, about if you need a really expensive camera, I stream onto my new 55 in and the quality is great. Don't think the new cam will make that much of a difference. I wasn't planning on buying a new camera for streaming for fish.
I think we've settled on the Brios. I think we've settled on the
Yeah, we did
Logitech
testing and
Brios
stuff
for
like
the.
that.
What's that?
We did testing, yeah. We tested it out, and the Brios are going to do what we need them to do for what we're doing, but when it comes to fish, who was I watching? I was watching someone's video, and even in their own video, they were like looking at a tank, they went to the next tank and it had a bunch of bubbles and fast-moving fish.
Mm-hmm.
Who was that? It was like a fish fam guy. And his thing got all pixelated because it couldn't keep up.
For just
his-
regular shooting or?
He was live streaming.
Oh, for a live streaming.
But
okay.
it's that confetti effect where it's like cameras work on, and I learned this because a viewer mentioned it to me, is cameras work, or at least the cameras we buy, they work on reporting the information that has changed.
Right.
So when you think about it, you're thinking like, okay, every millisecond it must be going like, oh, here's the color of Cory's nose, teeth, lips, hat, shirt. But no, the way it actually works is if I was to sit here still and change nothing, it would send no new data. It only reports the changes. So as my hand moves, it's saying, hey, change all these pixels. But if you don't move at all, it changes nothing. So when there's a bunch of things, and this is what you'll see like on a Macy's Day Parade, all that confetti going, and then the quality goes down. It's because it's having to report every pixel is changing like a million colors a second, and it can't keep up. And that's why, like on the Tiger Barbs, I was gonna do a 24/7 cam, and it doesn't work because there's way too much activity.
There's just
so
too
it
much
looks
going
like
on.
it's like 360p all the time.
Right.
When I'm like, I don't get it. I tested it, but I only ever tested it before I put Tiger Barbs and stuff in it. So it can track 30 fish perfectly fine. It's when you get hundreds moving that it just like crushes down to a grinding halt.
Yeah, I found that. I mean, I could live stream some of my tanks, and I'm actually working on networking that now. That I can live stream kind of short bursts of like my tanks and stuff that's going on. You get into like long term with that kind of stuff. I find that just shooting a daily time lapse would probably be your best bet if that was something that you wanted to do. I mean, as a recommendation to the, I guess maybe not necessarily the question, more the explanation of what Jules was asking here, right? I would say that your best bet would just be to get a camera that can shoot like an 8-hour time lapse.
Yeah.
And then just have that just as your dedicated time lapse tank shot. And then just grab that every day, process it, and stick it up if that's what you wanted to do. I think that would be the most effective thing if you were trying to film it and also like maybe engage. Because I don't know like how well a live stream really does that much. I think a good example of it would be there was a live stream of like, was it like a giraffe was going to give birth?
Yeah.
And
April
it just
the giraffe.
Right, and it just turned into like a chat room essentially. There was like a nonstop chat room of people like just arguing with each other.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
people watch like the Murphy cam at the store, but you know, I think he was just trying to give tips, and you know,
Well, I was saying that like if there was a tip for somebody out there that was trying to create and they were going like, I want to live stream this.
yeah,
I think a much better and much more engaging route would be to like shoot an 8-hour time lapse every day from when your lights come on to when they go off, and then upload that as like, you know, hey, you have a 5-minute clip or something like that, where you go like, here's what happened on Tuesday the 17th or whatever. Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, the reason we want new cameras and stuff like that is actually for, you know, it's not that it's going to look so much better, it's that we won't have to film as much. So like there's times like for instance, when Jimmy will film something, we get home and come to edit it and it's not usable. That's hours of driving back to the store, filming it again, and coming back. And so like a better camera gets it right the first shot, the first time. And then there's when you're tracking fish and stuff, if you have a picture, you know, for lack of a better term, let's say what you're filming is this big, but you can buy a camera that films this big, and now you can film that much, and the fish that would have swam off the screen is now in the screen for much longer, and then you can crop it and move it in the video, so it like when you watch the video, it won't seem any different to you, but when Jimmy's sitting right where I'm sitting and he's going, oh god, I need 14 seconds of this clip because that's how long Cory's talking about the fish, he can do work to save that, and so that's the goal. And then the other big thing is, you know, the only difference that people will notice is that stuff will look a little bit brighter. So instead of like, oh man, it sure was dark in that fish room, which fish rooms are typically crazy dark, the goal is it'll be like, oh, it didn't look like it was crazy dark. You can see a lot of things, and that's huge sensors and stuff like that. So it's not like we have to have it. It's just we're trying to take it that extra little step each time we can, because that's, I don't know, that's what you do in business, I guess, right? You go, oh, we made it to this level, let's try to make it to the next level.
Yeah, it makes
and the
sense.
next one, I guess. So.
Yeah, well, it's like, you know, I know how to do it right. I just don't necessarily have the time or the funds to do it right.
Right.
So I do the best I can with what I got.
And we do the same.
Couple chopsticks and a black and white hand crank camera. That's how I do it.
Yeah. So
I gotta answer this super chat real quick because I love it.
Do it.
It just popped in from Jeffrey Pereira.
Sure.
Pereira. I don't know.
Jeffrey P.
Jeffrey P.
Yeah.
Yes. He's asking, it says, I have an assassin snail problem. I have a yo-yo loach in the tank, but it will not eat them. What fish will eat assassin snails? And I love this. I love this question because the answer is never the answer that anybody wants, but it's the answer that everybody needs.
What is it? Feed less?
Time.
Yes.
The assassin snail problem will take care of itself. I hate to tell people this because they go like, wait a minute. They go, wait. Yeah, you don't want to be dumping a ton of food in there. So if you decrease your feeding a little bit, the assassin snails will start to assassinate each other, and they will start. They will get their population in check. Over time, if you, as you said, you know, you do have to dial down your feeding a little bit if that's the case, if that's what they're feeding off of. But they will assassinate each other, and eventually the population will drop down.
I've had booming populations that I neglected being like, yeah, I'm feeding the guppies.
Yeah,
or the
fine.
guppies explode. The guppies explode in population, and they eat all the food, and I was putting the same amount of food in them, like, where'd all the assassins go? I was like farming these and taking them to the store. Like, and like, I have 20 times as many guppies. That's right. Yeah. Dang it. And then I just start putting the food back and I'll make more assassins again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say, and the other thing is too, if a lot of food's dropping in there, the yo-yo loach might just be going to like Bloodworm Town and going, you know, snails do move slow, but they still move. This bloodworm's just fell in my mouth.
So I'm just going to eat it.
Yeah. So if you hold the food back, and that's a lot of times, you know, think of it like a dog. Like if your dog, like, oh, turns out he doesn't want to eat this expensive dog food I bought him. I guess I'll feed him chicken and eggs that I make him this morning. Like after a while of you just not making chicken and eggs for breakfast for him, all of a sudden it starts going, hey, that dog food looks pretty good. I'd eat that. You know, so it could be some selection going on of like, I'm too lazy to chase down the assassins, but I will eat this food. The other thing that could be going on is that maybe that yo-yo is scared because there's only one. It's like wants the pack. Like maybe it's like, oh, you give me two more, we going hunting. If I'm flying solo, I'm just trying to stay alive.
Could be a big deal, yeah. When they're alone, they should have a little bit of a school. They shouldn't necessarily just be isolated by themselves.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they are one of the few fish that really do like cuddle up in a tube, and like you can make a case for almost any fish, but you really see the interactions. The fish does act differently when you give them more. So, all right, we've got another. Well, Josh Peters, so another JP almost. Any tips for preventing staghorn algae? I dose Easy Green and iron 2 times a week. I have good flow, light, and injecting CO2. No other algae issues. My initial response is the balance is off somewhere. It's one of those like, it's not a slight on anyone. It's just like, if we have algae, all of the things we mentioned, so fertilizers, light, and CO2, those are the only, and circulation, those are the only things that come into play.
right.
If all those are dialed in perfectly, we don't have algae. That being said, it's really easy to be like really close and we can't see the problem, and that's why it's happening. But if I had to guess, and this is just a guess without testing your water, knowing, I bet you we might be a little bit heavy on the iron. One, most people don't own an iron test kit. You might, and it might be fine, but I'm just playing off odds here. So that's the most likely one to overdose. And then also, it usually leads to hair algae and staghorn algae and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That being said, you could be on a well, and let's say like, oh man, my silicates are like off the chart. You know, that type of thing. So I would say try dialing back the Easy Iron to once a week and let that run for 3 or 4 weeks and see how it goes. The other thing I like to do is some manual removal. Grab an old toothbrush and get it in that algae and kind of swirl it around. It likes to stick to itself, and you might have to clip a few leaves, especially on some older stuff like Anubias, where it's like, oh man, that's really on there. But I would start working that method over time and see if you can't clear it up in a few months. But what's your go-to, like, oh man, I got the staghorns?
Staghorn is one of the red algae, so yes, it's typically an overabundance of iron. It's like typically is the go-to, like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
That's the first look. I found in my experience, if you're not somebody who wants to necessarily test or do those kinds of things, the easy way around this is red root floaters. Those are typically ones that will outcompete the staghorn. That's pretty much a go-to.
Okay.
If you can get a hold of some of those, throw them in there, let them start replicating.
Grab some like on Aquabid, probably set you back maybe $10.
Maybe
shipping.
$10. Yeah, it's a pretty cheap.
Maybe
fix.
a little cold, because a lot of times something like that wouldn't ship with a heat pack. So maybe you got to wait till it warms up a little bit.
I'm gonna have to wait, find somebody local.
Yeah.
And I know a local guy, but that would be the easy natural fix.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's
would
good.
be a quick replicating red plant is normally a way around that you wouldn't have to go into, but I would test and find out what's going on. Oftentimes I get these questions for like, I have algae, what's going on? And I'm often at it's like I'm often at like kind of a loss for like how to fix it, because I don't necessarily, because it's very difficult to get this comprehensive report, right? Of like, I did my water testing, here's
Right.
what's going on, and not to self-promote our Patreon or anything like that, but the Patreon is always a great spot for those questions. Personally.
Well, it's like almost like you need. It's like a
'Cause I
back
can
and
get-
forth session.
Yeah, it's like you can send in and go like, here's my, I tested all my water. Here's what I got, and you could, and even from that point, like you said, maybe you don't have your iron kit, and you could go, oh, I'm gonna order an iron kit, and I'm gonna find out, I'm gonna test it and see what's going on there. But if the easiest way to go about it in a natural way was the red root floaters, but if we have like a kind of a comprehensive idea of what is going on with the water tests and that kind of stuff. And oftentimes, like, a picture is super helpful, because sometimes it's very confusing to like figure out exactly what algae you have going on, right? And sometimes they get confusing even to me at times. I'm like, I even had one posted the other day that was like, "What is that? That is weird. I got to look into this." It's like, this weird bubble-looking algae, right? That's in fresh water, and I'm like, oh, how odd. Let me figure out what that is.
The other thing is, look at your history too. Like sometimes you'll have, like, oh yeah, I used to do a water change twice a week, but then it was Christmas, so I only did it once.
Right.
Or something like that can start the series of events where you're like, oh well, yeah, I had a little bit of extra. Like maybe you always had like 1 part per million iron too much, but you did your water change and that fixed it, and then we skipped 1 water change and that was enough to go, oh now we actually had too much, started this, and maybe it'll go away. Sometimes the answer is don't change anything, and just like, oh yeah, you missed 1 water change, or your niece fed the tank way too much flake because you had every person over and it was so much fun, and then over the course of 3 months it reverts back to the way you were keeping it, back to the routine and the rhythm. So that's where some of those, a lot of people are like, oh, there must be something wrong, but it could just be something we're not aware of. They're like, oh yeah, it was that thing. It'll fix itself, self-correct over time. And then it could also be that you're saying like, no, it's been this way for 17 years. You're like, oh, well, that's a different scenario.
Now
issue,
it could be something to do. Yeah.
So, all right, let's keep busting our way through these super chats. James Caswell with the $2 pounds. Boom. That's my new thing.
Sterling.
Yeah. Sterling. Hi from the UK. Listening whilst doing nursing coursework.
Well, there you go.
Cool. I wanted to become a nurse.
You do?
I did.
You did.
I mean, I still do, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't say I don't not want to now, but I just thought I thought it'd be lucrative to be a male nurse.
Lucrative.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like helping people. So, like, first is like, make a list of jobs you think you might want to do, and then I start sorting by which one makes my life the best, probably. Like, oh, that'd be lucrative, and I would enjoy that. Like, I like working with the elderly and people in general. And then I just knew a lot of nurses from working at a fish store, and they were always having a shortage of, like, male nurses. And it just, and it's one of those things that, like, no matter what, either A, they wanted some more people that were strong, whether they're male or female, and then there would be male patients that wouldn't want a female nurse, like, at all, ever, or they were so inappropriate with a female nurse that you'd want to put a male with that person. So I thought, I was like, yeah, there seems like a wide opening, good spot for a person like me that does care about people and that type of thing. And I ended up opening my own store, obviously, but that was in the realm of maybe I should do nursing school. That I'd enjoy that. But yeah, so good on you, James.
My mom certainly did.
Yeah.
And does. Still enjoys it.
Nursing.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Doing them nurse things. Hunter Webb, $5 super chat. This one's for you. I have a feeling this one is in your wheelhouse.
Uh-oh. What
do you think about an antler in an aquarium? Would I run into huge buffering issues? My pH is 7.6.
I've seen people put antlers in there. Oftentimes people think antlers are bone, and they are not.
See? I knew you'd know this because I was already thinking it was bone.
Antlers are hair.
Are hair?
Yes. Typical makeup of hair. Or fingernails.
Okay.
Fingernails and hair is basically what it comes down to.
So is it going to have the minerals that dissolve in?
Not really. Not that much. It wouldn't affect all that much. I know that some people heat them in an oven, I think, to put them in their tank. Like they kiln. It's not like a kiln fire, but they heat them up.
But some kind of curing process.
To cure them. I'm not 100% sure on that. I wouldn't do it personally, just because it doesn't necessarily fall in the lines of the natural deal. But I guess I could see how, if you were an avid hunter or something like that and you wanted to do it, I would personally, what I would do is use a two-part epoxy. Or polyurethane, one or the other, and just seal it up and make sure you're cool. There, no bacteria would get through that or anything like that, so you wouldn't really be necessarily introducing something potentially. Right. But like I said, I know that some people bake them. I don't know what the temperature is that they bake them on. I have no clue.
I'm not well versed in antler baking.
I have no idea. I know that sometimes, there are a lot of local guys around here that go out. They do trips to go out. And they do trips to go out and collect them, and so oftentimes they're 3 or 4 or 5 years old. Because most people don't realize that, like deer and elk and stuff like that, they shed their horns at the end of the year.
I was just thinking that. I was like, they just go collect them? Like, what, are they just dying? And then I was like, oh.
They shed them when it's no longer time to stab each other to death. They will shed them so they can actually just you can go around the woods and just find them if you're crafty. If you're a crafty fella, which I ain't. I see why you want to get me up in the mountains. We're gonna go antler collecting. We should go antler collecting. It would be fun. I'm terrible at finding them though. I have like bad luck finding them. But you can. Oftentimes, a lot of people are finding 3, 4, 5-year-old ones that have like kind of baked out in the sun and stuff like that. So there probably isn't really anything on them. But I think personally, whenever I put something like an ornament or anything along those lines, we always want to make sure that it's cured to some degree, whether it be a plastic thing. You know, it's not going to leach anything into the water and stuff like that. So if that was me in that application, I would probably, you know, I'd either use a 2-part epoxy or some polyurethane and just seal it up and go, hey, I now don't have to worry about it.
If I was in that scenario, I would just try it.
Just throw it in there.
Like I would take, and I don't know, but I would take like an antler this big. I would put it in a 55, and I would just see. I wouldn't put it with my prized possession, but I have a feeling that it would be one of those things like we do enough water changes, it doesn't leach fast enough. Or, in my experience with aquariums, if that is a problem, you know, like the next day of like, oh man, it's all milky and there's like a fungus growing on it. That ain't gonna work. You know, I just have a feeling it'd be like, all right. But I would try. I would try in another little aquarium. I don't want to say don't care about, but you know, maybe it's like, oh yeah, I've got 200 extra white cloud babies that they're over there. I'll try it in there as opposed to Ladybird's tank.
Right.
You know. So
I guess you could. I mean, I get paranoid about introducing random stuff at times like that.
But half the fun for me
because you know it's like
an
antler horn. An antler horn could have been inside another deer.
Yeah.
You know, by stabbing it, because that's what they're for.
Yeah.
And that's more often what happens with them.
For sure.
So that's just kind of where my paranoia would come in. Is like, you know, this could have been an implement.
I'm a guy that's always wanting to try stuff. But I wouldn't, like, I was trying to think of, like, well, what if it was like an antler and it was like, let's just say a family went and got a deer and one of the kids wants to put it in their tank. I was thinking like, yeah, that's real sentimental. But then I was thinking like, that's also not where I would experiment with this. Like, I don't want to kill the child's tank full of fish by putting the antler in there. So I was like, oh, well, that ain't going to work either. But I would try it off to the side somewhere and just see and report back and be like, no, man, now my clown loaches are spawning. Who knew they needed antlers? You know, something no one can spawn. You never know. All right. With Joe Star with the $5 super chat. Thanks for making a road trip to Mexico. Oh, in Mexico. Interesting. Jabba the Puff says Happy New Year. I met them in Michigan, I believe. Mexico road trip. That's awesome.
What's going on?
Joe Star.
Oh, he's heading to Mexico.
They have Jabba the Puffer. And they're in Mexico on a road trip.
On a road trip.
You can look for a lot of cool tropical fish in Mexico. I don't know if you get the chance to, like, do that. You know, because you might just be like, no, we're going straight to Tijuana, man.
Tijuana.
You know, but you could stop off and look at some water because it does stay warm enough to keep some goodeids and maybe even some platies and stuff while you're down there. But I don't know, like, the location where you're at and where you're going and if you have time. Like, I always think I'm going to do that. And then it turns out, oh, yeah, I'm on vacation. I got to do things. Not just, like, troll around going, nope, nothing in that ditch. You know, where my wife's like, come on. But if we find something super cool. So. And the last super chat, until we're caught up, Michael Agostino. $2. Didn't even say anything.
$2 with nothing?
$2.
Just a tip in the tip jar?
Yeah. Ka-ching.
Michael Agostino, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, so we're in the last like 35 minorinos.
Yeah, 35 minutes.
What do we got?
We were talking about our favorite fish was the topic.
What was your favorite fish? What's your favorite fish you currently own?
My favorite fish that I currently own?
That you currently own. Well, I should let's say it's thing in a fish tank? Because what if it's like you're a conch or something? So
My
I don't want
favorite
to
thing.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like, oh, I love this one blue shrimp or whatever. Like, what's your, like, you know? So we're talking about favorite fish out of the stuff that you own that is in your possession. What or how I like to say it, the minute you walk into your fish room, what's the one thing you're like, oh, gotta check in on this little buddy? That's me talking like I'm Joel in your mind, by the way.
Hello, buddy.
Oh, where's my little buddy at?
First thing I check on when I go in there is probably the crebensis, just because they're doing so well right now and they're coloring up.
Are they making babies yet?
Not yet, but it's close, which is probably why I'm checking on them. Because I'm like,
Right.
hey, is anybody breeding yet? So those are probably the first ones that I check on. Then after that, I go looking for the apistos and see how they're doing. Yeah, those would probably be.
For me, now that we moved things around, I'm checking on Ladybird all the time.
Right.
I want to make sure she's doing okay. But then it's also right in eye level now. Before it was real down low, small tank. And I feel like both spots, both here and at the store, that's the case. Like, check on the moo-moo puffer.
Right.
Yeah, I just make a beeline towards that. And I think I've got the most to lose, too. Like, you know, that's like losing a dog to me, where if you lose, you know, if I lose one tiger barb out of 500, oh, I lost a tiger barb. You know,
It's a
where if
drag.
you lose 1 out of 1,
Yeah,
that's 100%. So,
it's true.
yeah, I do that. Check out on the puffers, and then the glance, make sure everything's looking good. Okay, and then wherever my eye wanders from there. So, yeah. 54, or no, someone's saying that they use grapewood for 8 years and no problems. That's insane. What are you looking for, Jimmy? Oh, you need your hat? Are you doing that run to the store and everything?
Yeah.
Cool.
He needs his
Come
hat.
back into the capture car.
Okay. Stuff still got to go on. We got Jimmy running errands
Behind
because
it.
we're doing the show. You know how that goes.
Petro McKinnon.
Yeah. All right. James Caswell with the $2 pounds. Boom. Borelli Opal are my favorite. Tips to breed them? The only tip I got is keep them cool. They don't want to be super duper hot.
Yeah, I was trying to think what temperature they need to be at.
I know people in California, in some parts of California, can breed them outside year round.
Oh, okay. I was trying to think like 72, 74, I think is about.
I gotta turn this light off. It's killing
68.
me.
I got
The
it.
reflection in the 800 gallons killing me.
Sorry.
Anyway. Now I'm all distracted.
Yeah, I was trying to think off the top of my head. What's the? I was trying to remember off the top of my head what was their breeding temp. And I think, I don't know, 72 popped in there. 72 about there, I think. Is
I know
where-
they can breed there. I have a feeling if you kept them at like 80, they're going to be uncomfortable. So I'd probably just let them be room temp for me.
room temp
Yeah.
60. I keep my room temp 55.
Really?
No,
Oh, I was like, you're a madman. I was like, that's way too cold for me.
I would, but Vicky won't let that happen.
Yeah, I won't let that happen either. I wouldn't. I'd never come over to your house again. I'd be like, what is wrong?
What's wrong?
It's like a
Trying to keep
ice
my computers
fortress in
cool,
here.
man.
Yeah, that's right. Kevin Keener says, wait, do people debate conch pronunciation? Because people in Southeast pronounce it conch.
I say conch.
Is
Right.
it? Am I just completely wrong? Or
Some
is
people
it-
say conch, some people say conch.
Oh,
I think it's the same thing that boils down to the pronunciation stuff, where it's like, well, this guy's British, so he's gonna say
now
it
I
this
wanna
way.
read- I wanna
It's
read
like
the word.
aluminum versus aluminium.
yeah.
You know, and
I
it's
want to
like,
read the word because now, is it COUNCH?
No, CONCH.
I would say conch if I read that. Yeah,
Yeah.
not conch. I would be like, yeah, it's not CONK. Duh.
Duh.
I'm trying to think of another word that ends in CH that has a K sound.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't have that.
for another time.
That's for another time, a guy.
When will Dean be on the podcast? 26 days, 7 hours, and 6 minutes from now.
All right, I'm gonna set my timer.
Yep. Boop. The reality is I have no idea. At some point, the studio will be done. Dean's schedule will allow it.
Oh.
And we will get him here.
Do we give him a hashtag free plug
Dean?
for his speaking engagement?
Oh, yeah. We get... Is that No, that's a week from today. I was like, is that today? I was like, okay, we got to go.
We got to go now.
Yes. So, Dean, if you happen to be local to us, that means in Washington. I mean, you could drive, but in Washington, Dean will be giving a presentation to the Greater Seattle Aquarium Society at Seattle Pacific University next week, the 9th, January 9th at 7 p.m.
7 o'clock.
Greater Seattle Aquarium Society.
Fremont, Washington.
It's free. You don't have to be a member or anything like that. There's an auction afterwards. We may or may not be showing up. And I say that because I've learned in the past that when I say I'm going to do something and then I don't do it, I end up offending people.
We're going to try to show up.
Yeah, there could be one of those things like, oh, dude, we have to put another base coat on this, or you can't put more base coats on it. And be like, well, so do we let it look crappy forever, or do we stay here and do that? So, I can't do one of those things like, oh, like for all I know, one of my employees asked for the day off, or, there's lots of things that come into my wheelhouse, and then people are like, you said, and I'm like, whoa. Trust me, here's all I can say is, I would like to go. I would like to go see that, and therefore...
he only made one coffee.
Yeah, it's only one coffee today.
It's decaf. I don't know if you want it.
I don't want decaf.
That's not even coffee, is it?
That's my last.
Are you jonesing? Are you shaking? It's decaf.
Yeah, but it's decaf.
Did you even order any more yet?
Nah, not yet.
Oh, man, you're going to be out for
Oh.
days. You're going to be out for
That's
days.
how we get the real fish talk. We talk about Jimmy's making coffee.
Yeah.
That's a Jimmy.
I feel like Jimmy, he's like reverting into an intern or something. I've never had one, but he keeps like, I'm going to get a coffee maker. I'm going to make coffees. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that.
I'm going to do that.
Like, it's on his own accord because I don't even drink coffee. So it's not like I was like, yeah, get a coffee maker. Bring me my coffee.
Bring me my
I don't even
coffee.
drink coffee, but somehow he's like reverting more and more to like interny type stuff. Weird.
It's good, though.
Oh, I love it.
It's all a learning process.
He's just helping out.
Yeah, he's helping out.
Good guy.
Let's check
But
our...
Dean's talk, yes, go.
We have to do our quick check. What's our contiguous viewers? Where are we at?
Oh,
This is like one of my favorite things to check is the contiguous viewers thing.
All right.
About an hour and a half in.
Do you want to take a guess before I reveal it? Can you even see over here?
Not really. No,
Okay.
I can't see over there, but I'm gonna guess
You're way off.
382.
Really?
Yeah.
That was really close.
Is it close?
386.
386. Oh man, that was close.
You were so close, so we now need to establish what happens if you were to guess it on the nose without looking. Something's got to happen.
I'd just get some coffee.
We need to come up with some kind of like crazy music and dance party or something
It's a
that
hashtag
happens.
free plug.
Yeah, that was really close. I thought you were gonna say like 280. Because that's where we were at like last week. But
That's close.
You were around
that was
the money.
close. So I do realize this is the most boring part of the show for the next 5 seconds when I say, hey, don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button.
Yeah.
I'm just making
buy
a
all of our
conscious.
things.
I'm making a conscious effort to throw it in about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
In case anybody's asleep, they'll wake back up and hit the like
Yeah.
button. Right?
Like our stuff, buy our stuff, support our stuff,
Right.
watch our stuff, or don't. At this point, you either turned us off. Like, here's the thing. If you're watching to this point, you've made a decision that we're not that horrible. So consider supporting us in some way. A lot of you already do. That's super cool. But if you're at this point in the show and you're not, consider it. I'm not saying you got to. I'm just saying it makes it a little bit easier on us to do what we do.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying what we do is the hardest thing in the world. Not saying that. But the easier it gets, the more we do typically. I'm just saying.
Right.
So, just like that, we got a $5 super chat from Bob Labla.
Labla.
$5. Thank you very much.
It's got no question, man.
No, it's just $5.
Just a
Good
$5
show.
super chat.
Every
Good
time
show.
there's nothing
Thanks.
there, I just consider it to be like, good show, man. Good show. Well, thank you. Thank you for the good show.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's see here. I bought realfishtalk.com.
Did you?
Yeah, and then I put like a WordPress thing on there, and what I want to do with it, it wasn't working, and at 12:30, my wife was yelling at me to come to bed, so it doesn't do anything yet, and I don't know that it's ever going to do anything, but at least we own it. Realfishtalk.com might do something someday.
What are we gonna do there?
I don't know. That's why
Activities?
it would be cool if we only posted videos of us doing activities. And
Breakdancing
karate.
contests?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Karate
that's
chops.
coming up soon.
Karate chop. What if it's only us? What if we make it a website and it's only videos of us playing? Is it Street Fighter? Is that where you test your might? And like you had to beat on the car, and you had to do these things.
Oh yeah.
Test your might.
Test your might.
So what if we only did those activities in the game? Like we just like used our cell phone, like not actually capture card or anything. Just like here's Joel testing his might today. Oh, he's beaten again. Car got the best of him.
Car got the better of me and just ran me over or something.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it doesn't go like maximum overdrive and then the cars start thinking on their own and start attacking people. That wouldn't be very fun.
But that's what you could maybe expect from realfishtalk.com. Something equally useless of that. LG3 Nation with the $5 super chat. Good show, man.
Good show, man.
Yeah, good show.
Good show, man. Hey, man.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Yeah?
Good show.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
So, Mary says, we need bunk beds. I own bunk beds for the van. They literally do bunk bed. That's how me and Jimmy road tripped.
Road tripping.
You got to experience the van, not with the bunk beds yesterday.
That's right.
But
we
you could
road
see
tripped.
how you could travel across.
We road tripped minus bunk beds.
There was too many people, not enough bunk beds, so we had to go with these things called seats. Yeah.
Bizarro.
They're like bunk beds, but the opposite.
Living in there.
Yeah. There will be no bunk beds in the studio. To be fair, this studio used to have a hammock, though.
That's true. You used to have
And
a
me
hammock.
and Jimmy really do miss that hammock.
For lounging.
Like the 20-minute nap/lounge, like writer's block. Like if we're trying to think of a title or where to take a video, just laying over there and whining about the world somehow made it better. And then you'd get back up and you'd work.
Yeah.
And it was awesome if you fell asleep. Because then you just, like, there'd be times when
just
either
kinda
Jimmy
conk out
or
for-
I would fall asleep, and you wake back up, and you're like, where'd everyone go? And you're like, oh my God, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're just out in the fish room, and you, like, fell asleep at 10 or something. You're like,
Oh, yeah.
my wife is going to be angry.
She's going to be wondering what was
Tiptoe
going
in,
on.
You know, and then she's like, did you fall asleep out there? No, I was working.
It's working super hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, naps sometimes are required.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking mad nap game yesterday, weren't you?
We were just talking about it.
Yeah, talking about how cool naps are, and they used to be something awesome. So, I don't get them anymore. Firecrackers.
What?
Priscilla MK Art.
Priscilla
says,
MK Art with the
$2
firecrackers?
super chat. Firecrackers. By the way, I was slightly. When was it? Your last live stream of 2018, which was Friday? No, 2017. Sorry.
Yeah.
You banned firework use. I thought if there was ever going to be a day, you'd be like, all right, only fireworks during New Year's.
Nah, it's no good on New Year's.
Do you allow them on the 4th of July?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's all right.
All right.
It's
I wasn't sure.
nutty that. Okay, so quick little story here. Vicky and I were driving back from Wenatchee, which means I have to go over mountains and all that kind of stuff. We come over the pass and all that. And we were driving through one of the towns there, and there was a giant apartment building on fire. Like,
Okay.
not like, oh, there's some smoke coming out of that. It's like, no. That's fire.
Would you describe it as
like,
an inferno?
Infernoing up into the sky.
Okay.
Right? And all I could think, it was the day after Christmas. So it was the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
And all I could think of, it's super cold outside. All those people that live in that apartment building don't have a house now or a place to live. And I believe it turned out it was someone's kid was playing with stuff on the stove is what started the fire. And yeah, I'm not saying like let's get rid of stoves, but
You are anti-stove?
if you're shooting fireworks off, you have a higher percentage of starting a fire than you do
using a stove.
using a stove. Like,
True.
just guaranteed, right?
Yep.
And so that's my thought process, because there's a lot of people that are like partying and stuff on New Year's, and I know you guys know I'm not as a sober guy, but you know, I think the you know, the level of some of those people that are intoxicated, the higher percentage of fireworks going off. It's just kind of a bad idea. And it's really cold outside. If you burn your house down on the 4th of July, you could pitch a tent in the yard and deal with it.
See,
you know what I mean?
It's
You know
my
what I'm saying?
job. It's
You know what
my
I'm saying?
job to disagree with you.
Overnight lows, 22 degrees.
It's my job to disagree with you, but I've actually thought about this at length. Because I don't know why, but I've often wondered, why don't we change the 4th of July to be in the winter? If everything's covered in snow, I feel like it's less likely to burn. Fireworks will look cooler because all the colors will reflect off the snow.
Right.
And fireworks plus snowmen guaranteed to be good. I've thought about this
where
a
you're
lot.
at, but there are New Year's celebrations where a bunch of fireworks go off that you can just go check out. Like in Western Washington, you can just go to the Space Needle, and the Space Needle will blow up, and they'll shoot fireworks all around, and there's like firemen.
I agree. But let's say
if the Space Needle
as
burns
a home
down,
hobbyist,
no one lives at the Space Needle.
You don't know that.
No, I know no one lives at the Space Needle. I know about it.
I think you're assuming there could be someone.
I know about it. I'm telling you.
Still, 4th of July in the middle of summer, dry season, seems way more dangerous than the winter.
Well, because
and I realize
the
we're
4th of
celebrating
July
the day.
is the celebration of the date. It's not...
Right. But
Yeah.
why not let's just celebrate that day with, like, ice cream.
Well, that's what I do.
And then change, like, January 12th to National Firework Day. Or, like, whenever, like, the most opportune snow day countrywide
Because if your
is.
house burns down on the 4th of July, like I said, you could just pitch a tent in the yard and you're not going to freeze to
Yes,
death.
but let's focus on not burning houses down because they're covered in snow.
But your house isn't covered in snow. I just saw it.
I know.
It's January 2, so it's got 10 days to get covered in snow somehow.
There is that. But I also guarantee you there is more liquid around me and my house right now than there was on the 4th of July because it was roasty toasty.
It was roasty toasty.
So I'm just saying we need to separate the 4th of July, Independence Day, and fireworks and just make like National Fireworks Day on whatever they can guarantee, like over the country, is the wettest day or the snowiest day or something like that for maximum safety.
Yeah, I don't know. We can't even get... we can't even vote for real in this country, so I don't think that would ever happen. Changing the 4th of July. I mean, that's the Independence Day, right?
I'm just saying, a guy like me, I'm like too scared to light off fireworks in the summer because I'm afraid I'm going to burn down the entire world.
Well, we did find out yesterday when we drove by the casino. When we drove by the casino, they actually have a safe firework area.
Yeah, they
out
do,
there.
but it's not that safe. I've been there.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's
let's
still-
just presume
It's like a
maybe
football field size, right?
there's a safer one somewhere that they
It
could go to.
is safer than my yard.
We didn't say a specific one.
Yeah.
So maybe find a cool firework place that's really safe by you and yours.
It's obviously safer
right?
than my yard, but it's still in the middle of the summer, which is,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, they were allowed to on New Year's. They were shooting them off there for
They
New
were,
Year's.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a Indian reservation, and they're allowed
Yeah.
to do that. And, yes, I do believe that a space dedicated for it is better. I'm just saying, I'm a guy that loves efficiency, and I feel like less firework fires happen during the winter. But, like, you can't really know that statistic unless you light a bunch of fireworks, because you're going to be like, well, yeah, but it's not fireworks season, guy.
Hey, guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, of
I don't
course
know.
there's less in December. Like,
They
well,
basically just don't want anybody to light off fireworks.
Right.
They.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to spoil anybody's fun. I'm just kind of joking because people... You wake me up in the middle of the night with your
You jokers.
exploding dynamite in the sky. I mean, come on.
I mean, I prefer fire. I gotta be honest. I prefer fireworks to gunshots. Like people that like shoot
Yeah.
guns in the air.
Hmm?
Like I prefer someone to be like, look,
prefer
lit some
neither.
Firecrackers. Well, yes.
Yeah.
We're talking. That's like saying-
Preferentially.
yes, we're talking about steps of loud annoyances.
Right. Yeah. I don't like the loud annoyances in the middle of the night.
My favorite one.
There were a lot of fires this summer, so that's where that came from. Is that there a lot of stuff burned down this summer?
and
a lot.
imagine if it was all snow instead. Less burning.
It's possible.
It is.
I don't know.
All right. Let's go with the $5 super chat from this rad name. Nana's a nerd.
Nana's a nerd.
Nana, you
I
a
like it.
nerd. I have a 10-gallon guppy tank that I want to transition to a neocardinia shrimp tank. It currently has gravel. Do I need to change the substrate? My snap judgment is no.
No, you don't need to change the substrate.
I gotta be honest, I wouldn't.
I probably wouldn't. No.
Because you probably have like ultra established tank that you had guppies living in, lots of microorganisms and all that going on,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're gonna add some shrimp dudes in there, and they're gonna be like, "Sweet man, this place is set up for us." Whereas if you rip all that out and you put in, you know, shrimp soil flavor of the week, it's not gonna be nearly as biologically active and all that, and you'll probably still be okay. But you might be like, "Oh man, I got less money for tacos, but I got shrimp substrate." I'm not sure you gain anything from it with Neos. Neos being like cherry shrimp, blue velvets, that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's,
Neocardinia don't really need anything crazy. They just need stable. They
yeah,
just need a
exactly. They need
stable
the
environment.
opposite of crazy. They
They
just
need-
basically need like anything in this wide range.
Right. Anything 6'4" to 8'2". I mean,
Yeah.
8'2" is pretty high. 6'4" is kind of low.
I've done
but,
at least 8.
You know, you with your pH and stuff like that, as far as the gravel concerns and changing the substrate and any of that kind of stuff, the biggest thing that you want to do is just make sure you have stability in your tank. Is what you're wanting. You're going to want to have stable pH for those shrimp. That's just going to be the only thing that you should be really focusing on for Neos. They're not realistically that difficult, but you do want to maintain a stable environment for them pH wise. That's going to be the big issue. Not necessarily like changing out to a shrimp specific substrate or anything like that. Neos are pretty darn easy realistically.
I'm a big Neo
They're
keeper.
they're not like the easiest thing in the world.
No,
I would say
but on the shrimp spectrum, they're pretty easy.
Your grandpa bladder snails are probably the easiest
I do love them.
thing to keep, but
How dare you? How
stability.
many big ones have you grown?
Stability is the big deal. I've grown big ones.
Sure. I
Of
ain't
pond
seen-
snails? Yeah,
Yeah.
not on purpose. They just
I ain't
happens.
seen no pictures.
I ain't seen no pictures.
No, but really, Neos are easy. I find less is more with them. Like if you just have a tank and you put some Neo shrimp in there and then you don't do anything and you come back in like 2 months, you probably just have more Neo shrimp than you had. Like I'm saying, you wouldn't have to feed. Like you just, as long as the tank wasn't like set up the day before, like if you had a stable tank, you put some Neos in, walk away for 2 months, come back, and you'll have done nothing. No water changes, no feeding. You'll probably go, I had 6, now I have 14. Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Whereas if you're like, oh man, I did a thorough cleaning every day and made sure that, you know, I trimmed and gave them a haircut and did all these things and made them look tip top every day, I don't get it. They keep dying. You know, I walk them around in my pocket every morning, take them for a jog. Less is more, I think. Pedro Nava, $2 super chat. Just beat a bad case of Vic with Ick-X. Yes, sir. I concur. My favorite treatment for ick is Ick-X. That's yeah. I need like Hikari, if you're listening. I need some shirt that is like a billboard for Ick-X. This is a great product. I feel like it doesn't get enough coverage on. I mean, I don't know. I use it so much, and it doesn't kill like scaleless fish or inverts or plants, and it does work really well on ick. That I feel like it should be like just the known gold standard. Or, I'm not going to say it has to be the known gold standard, but why isn't there a known gold standard when it comes to most medications? Like there's a lot of debate on, oh, you got a fungal infection? Let's debate these 10 medications on which one's best. It seems like science could. Well, I know the reason, because we as hobbyists can't identify which fungal infection, and so therefore
it's because of opinion. You know, that's the main thing, is that like somebody will go, this works best for me, and somebody goes, this works best for me, and then you go like, oh,
well, that's why I
there's
need
two
the shirt.
opinions.
I need the shirt that says this works the best for me, Hikari Ick-X.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why, just do it.
Just do it. Just do
'Cause
it.
then, why does it
Wait,
work
just
the
do it's
best?
already
Like,
been taken. Hashtag free plug.
Yeah. Just-
So we need a different.
Just Ick-X it.
Just to exit.
Yep.
Just
Just give it the X.
Just X.
Yeah.
Give it the X.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Flynn's Fish Forum was asking if I took over the co-op store, would I make any changes, switch around tanks, fish, etc.?
I would think so.
I would imagine that I'd inadvertently make some changes and stuff like that, but I think it would just be more along the lines of like, oh, hey, I'm gonna paint this wall because
I'd make a lot of changes.
If you took over the coop store?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'm not in
go
there all
for
the
it.
time, but but like I take it as like, let's say I sold it to you, and you close down for a week, and then you reopen. There are a lot of things I would change probably. Like, I would just be like, wait, I have a week we could do construction.
Right.
Like, oh man, I would do this and I would do that. Like, I already know we kind of want to take down the 18-gallon talls that we have set up and put in 33 longs just to have a different size tank to sell fish out of, because it's kind of nice to be like, oh, we need something kind of big but not big. And then, like, I would never put blue backgrounds in again, and that wall, all of them are blue backgrounds, so that's terrible. I would fix that to black ASAP.
That I would fix, yeah.
Yep, that was a mistake, but I learned there. That was, I learned early, don't do blue ever again.
Yep. That's one thing about stores that always drives me nuts. All the blue backgrounds. I'm like,
yeah, I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I
don't know. I still don't
I
understand
only had black, and then I was like, oh, these black mollies aren't selling very well. Must be because I have a black background. So then I built an entire wall of blue backgrounds. Mm-hmm. And guess what? We have the mollies. Not on the blue background.
On the
They're
black
still on the
background.
black. And they sold the same no matter where we put them.
Right.
But it was better for us to put them in a 20 than it was in an 18. And so we keep them in the 20. And now I just have all this extra algae I got to... Well, I don't, but as a store, all this extra algae we got to scrape.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just... I mean, like, if I took over that store, there's just changes like that I would do.
The other thing
you know
is,
what I mean?
we built that store to be a much smaller store. And so, like, we'd probably change the checkout line and that kind of stuff because of...
traffic congestion.
Yeah.
Of people.
Just the people in the flow were thinking, oh, yeah, it'll be fine. We'll have one person ring it up. And now we always have, like, two people kind of in the... As we called it when we were building it, the gunfighter position. You were kind of in the cockpit of like, oh, here's the register, and I could see all the things. And I wouldn't, if I could change something right now, I would either A, tear down the wall to the quarantine, or B, at least refurb it so it's open to the public, and I would move all the quarantine into one of the warehouse spaces.
Yeah.
Because right now it just doesn't make sense, because it's like I'd have to like build it out and then start importing stuff there.
I mean, like, if I bought your store or something and I was going to redo stuff, it would just be like geographically moving things around in there.
Yeah.
Like the cash register would no longer be in the center. I would have it by the front door, so when people come in, they go in a loop.
Yep.
They get all their stuff, and then you go out the front and you get out of here.
But we designed it in the center of the store thinking, okay, you're going to be a small business owner. There's only going to be one guy, and there's going to be people that want help
Which
while
makes
you're
sense.
ringing people up, and it totally worked for that. Now, it's a colossal nightmare jam with the way we have it in there. It's like, well, yeah, shutting the store down is going to cost a lot of money, and then you got to do this. You'd have to pull permits, technically, with the city of Edmonds because they're a real bear.
Well,
and but yeah, there would be a lot of changes even I would make at this point, but we don't make them based on. I don't think it would actually make us much more money. It would be a lot more headache, and hindsight's 20/20. You'd put that thing up at the front, and then you'd be like, "Oh, that thing kind of is not great either," type of deal. And then there's always going to be stuff like the minute we get done with the studio. Next time I do this, because you'll learn. Oh yeah, who knew that was going to be a thing? Like, oh yeah, the way that sun comes right through that thing, only in August. Oh. Could have avoided that, I guess.
Could have avoided that thing.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want, but yeah, like if I took it over, yeah, I mean, I would just be changing stuff around like that. I mean, I wouldn't really do anything like crazy along those lines. But, if I owned a store or whatever, you already do have a lot of woodworking in there. So it's like, what I'm going to do, add more woodwork. I mean, I probably would, but. I would just be doing stuff like that, realistically, and managing the time and managing the employees, and
if I could rebuild it with unlimited money, I might rebuild it in aluminum though.
And just all aluminum.
Some of those German stores built out of aluminum look really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly it's probably just because of change thing. Like, I would just be like, well, I have wood, so I want to do it different.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, if I had aluminum, I'd want to be doing wood and blah, blah, blah. Like, change is good when you look at
Uh-huh.
the same thing day in, day out for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it'd be any better, but it might mentally be like, oh, look at this. It's different. You know? So.
Yeah.
Can you quickly explain Easy Carbon and why we should use it? I just got one in the mail and want to be sure I'm doing the right thing. Easy Carbon mostly is an algicide. So if you're battling some algae a bit, dosing that can help you fight off algae. It's technically a carbon source as well. I think that's a weak selling point, though, and my sales pitch on it is it can help win the war against some algae. It's not a miracle cure, you know. You can overdose it, you can kill some algae, you can do some things with it, but if you don't know what you're doing, don't do that. Just take it slow and steady and try to turn the tide on something like that. You know, I mean, how do you recommend using like Excel or Easy Carbon? Like, when do you recommend someone gets that, or do you? You can also be like, I would never, but
Just go buck wild and throw the whole bottle in your tank. You'll be
yeah.
fine.
Usually, I like to start off the 55-gallon tank with 55 gallons of it,
Yes.
and then I water change it out slowly.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
That's a smart move. You know, realistically. Yes, just so with Excel, Excel's pretty easy because you just follow the instructions. Easy
Yeah.
Carb's pretty easy because you just follow the instructions. So,
Would you, if someone was getting a brand new tank?
sit down with a piece of paper, do the math,
Yeah.
make sure you know what you're doing ahead of time.
Yeah.
Just like if you're baking a cake. You know, you just want to make sure I'm going to have the right measurement here before I go dumping it in there. And then,
Yep.
you know, make it easier on yourself with a container that, you know, you can make a mark on it and say this goes in Tuesday, Friday.
If
This
someone
much.
said, I'm buying all the stuff I need for a planted aquarium, I'm going to start one next week, would you tell them to buy Excel or Easy Carbon, or would you be like, wait till you have a problem, or would you be like, yeah, go ahead and grab that in your first stuff you need?
Really depends on the direction that you're going with your tank.
Let's say
You
it's
know.
a 17-year-old kid.
Because it doesn't even really have anything to do with the person. It just has what's the direction of the tank that you're going. If you're going for like a low tech tank, you're going for a high tech tank. It just depends
Let's say
on
it's
what you're
low
going.
tech,
I think
I'm
Excel
gonna
and
get
Easy
some
Carb are
plants.
good products,
Right.
and if you want to use them, for sure. I wouldn't say you have to go get this right away. I wouldn't even say to somebody you have to get good substrate. I mean, you can
Right.
do whatever you want. Some people throw organic potting soil in their aquarium that they got from the hardware store. They could do that. That's not the specific advice I would give across the board, right?
Yeah.
It might
Because
work.
I
It might
would-
work really well for some people out there because that's the style of tank that they wanted to do. So that's generally what I take.
Because I would not recommend it. I would not, like, if you said, tell me all the things I should buy for a planted aquarium that I want to set up next week, I would not say, go make sure you get some Easy Green or Excel or anything like that. I might mention it in an email and be like, you might need this someday, but I wouldn't buy it. That's, to me, it's like buying, like, should I buy a new front end for my car in case I crash it someday? Like, no, just if you do, just buy one when you do, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I don't think you need it all the time. And, you know, I guess it's one of those things like, if you're a driving instructor, you might say, like, well, if I've done my job right, you're not going to need to buy a new front end. Kind of the same thing. Like, if you've learned how to keep those plants well before you go and buy all that stuff, there's a good chance you might not ever need an Easy Carbon or something like that.
yeah.
You know? So, but at the same time, it's not like it's, the good thing is it's like, oh, it's only like $15. It's not like it's you had to take out a loan to buy it. So, but there are things that I do recommend, like ICX. Well, maybe I'll never get ick. True, but I'd much rather have it on hand. And you could make a case for algae as well. Like, oh, maybe you want to do a dip with new plants you get or something. Easy Carbon would help. Or, oh, I want to nip it in the bud right when I get it. I could see that. But I don't think I would say, like, yeah, you got to get your light, you got to get this, you got to get your plants, your Easy Green. And don't forget this, and this. There are people sometimes are like, I want to know everything I could ever possibly need. And then I'd be like, sure, then buy all this stuff, if that's the question. But, if you ask me, what do I need?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on the, like, you need it list. But like I said, I try to give advice to people like for specifically what they're trying to do.
Oh, for sure.
So that's where I'm kind of like,
This is
you know,
just
if I say like
hypothetical.
no, I would never tell someone to do that, but I might, depending on how their setup was going to be. So
Sure.
I know it's a longer answer than I think most people want to handle at this point, but
dare you?
that's really the thing. It's like, setting up a CO2 system can be complicated for people. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that right off the bat either.
Yeah, I don't.
And it
recommend
costs
that
money.
Either.
Costs money to do it. So sometimes people don't have the
I
money
try
for
to
it.
focus on growing or killing your first plant first, and then we'll see if you want to spend hundreds of dollars to grow or kill more plants.
Or kill more plants, yeah. Or grow them faster.
Yeah.
Or kill them
Most
faster.
people find out like, hey, I'm growing plants. Oh, that's all I wanted to do. Like, I don't need to buy all that other stuff. Someone
I
told
just
me I had to
wanted
buy
to
all
grow.
that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, oh no, you could just grow stuff. Yeah, you could
Yep.
you could do that. So, yeah. Well, we are at the 12:01 mark. What does that mean? That means probably finding some lunch and building. I mean, I
Hey,
know
eat
we're
some
building.
lunch.
Yeah. Maybe my wife will make us something,
Yeah.
and we won't have to go anywhere. But we definitely gotta build. I am jonesing for the studio to take shape, especially lighting. I hope soon we start working on lighting. I really want to see the lighting happen.
Yeah.
So, thanks for hanging out. Go ahead and suggest topics, stuff like that. That's helpful. Today I just woke up going, or it was last night, like, let's talk about fish we like. I don't know. I could do that for a couple hours. That'd be fun for me. And whatever reason that I was feeling that, maybe Joel feels something on Thursday. Who knows? You know, not that we take turns or anything. It's just like, it's just one of us convincing the other one, like, let's do this today. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, instead of like, how dare you? I don't want to talk about My Little Pony for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Not today. We'll save that for Thursday. Yeah.
My Little Pony comes up on Thursdays.
Yep. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Go to my website, aquariumcoop.com. Buy all of my inventory while you're there, except the push notifications. We send out a push notification when we go live, and then you guys go, hey, they're going to be live in 30 minutes. I should show up for that. Once you're done buying all of our stuff, head over to darkstararts.com. Commission Joel to build you infinite pieces of artwork for millions of dollars. And then after you've done all that, make sure you subscribe to our patrons and, give us like $1. And then,
Sarah's Little Fish just upped her pledge
sweet.
on my Patreon.
Cool.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Yeah. And then make your family listen and do all that. And then they tell 2 friends. And then you share it on Facebook. And then we show up on Thursday to make another episode and hopefully have some fun.
Yeah.
And hopefully you guys show up too. 386 was the peak. Let's try for 387 on Thursday. What do you
Try
guys
for
say?
387.
If one of you invites one more friend, that makes it a possibility.
Oh dear, 2 hours and not a single chicken.
Oof.
Yeah, but there's 2 dozen chicken eggs right out there for that guy right there.
Also, there's another episode later today on the Corvus Oskin channel. Almost guaranteed to have the word chicken in there at some
On my
point.
channel, we'll
That's
probably
a 1 hour
talk about
thing at
chickens.
4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
4 p.m. PST.
Yeah.
Specific
We'll be there.
standard time.
We'll be dirtier than we are right now because we've been working. But we will talk about something, and something will be talked about.
Yes, for sure.
All right. We will see you guys later. Listen or look for this on the podcast, and we will do what we do another time.
Do